You glanced at Guolan and smiled. Do I look like I'm short on money? Guolan dipped his head, awkwardness creeping into his expression. He pressed his lips together, hesitated, then lifted his gaze again, eyes burning with stubborn sincerity. Young master, no one ever has too much money. Just name your price. If you let me copy that pill scripture, I'll do everything I can to meet your demand. Your reply stayed calm, almost gentle. That ancestral scripture isn't something you can price. Or rather, even if you worked your whole life, everything you earned still wouldn't be enough. You weren't mocking him. You were simply stating the truth. The determination in Guolan's eyes flickered, then settled into quiet resignation. He nodded. I understand. Thank you for indulging my ignorance, young master. You waved it off like it didn't matter. My apologies for disturbing you. I'll take my leave. Guolan bent down, lifted the large cloth bag by his feet, and turned to go. You asked casually, what's in the bag? Guolan froze. His ears reddened. He hesitated as if the words got stuck in his throat. Just his voice trailed into silence. You chuckled. Your best possessions? Something to prove you came with sincerity. Yes. His answer was barely more than a breath. Not long ago, Guolan had finally broken through and become a first-grade pill refiner, officially stepping into Danxia sect as a true disciple. The frustration he'd carried for a year had evaporated overnight. That sudden release made him overestimate himself. In his excitement, he had gathered everything he thought precious and rushed here to display his worth. Only now, standing before you, did he slowly understand. Someone who could casually throw resources into improving fifth-grade pill recipes wasn't ordinary. And such a person wouldn't care about the treasures of a first-grade pill refiner. Your politeness wasn't respect for him. It was simply your upbringing. That realization made his bag feel like a joke. So embarrassing he could barely speak. You tilted your chin. Let me see. Young master, there's really no need. Be obedient. Show me. With a stiff, helpless motion, Guolan loosened the knot and opened the cloth bag. Inside were a few scattered silver taels, several blood-chi pills, some low-grade assorted pills, and, unbelievably, preserved fish and cured meat. You picked up a piece of salted fish and raised your brows, amused. So I've reached the point where people are bringing me disaster relief rations? Guolan forced a smile that looked more painful than polite. Young master, my family prepared those before I left home. My mother said they keep for a long journey. The words my mother said landed strangely, stirring up an old, distant memory in you. Your expression softened. You held the fish up again. Mind if I keep this one? Of course. Of course, young master. Guolan answered too quickly, as if saying no would be a crime. You had old Wang take it away, then placed 2 taels of silver in Guolan's hand. I'm not taking it for free. Guolan refused again and again. In the end, he left without taking the silver, clutching his bag as he walked away. Watching his retreating back, you shook your head. Guolan's pill-refining talent was indeed peculiar. But overall, his growth was only slightly better than average. Worse, his long dead periods, where he couldn't refine pills of the same grade, made his talent unreliable in practice. You pushed the matter aside and returned to cultivation. A month later, you completed the second refinement of source power. Your martial talent was absurdly sharp. What others needed months to grind through, you forced through with time and discipline. After resting a day, you went to inspect your zoo domain. You were tired of running back and forth between the manor and the zoo, so you hired 2 skin-refining siblings, Hishan and Hienchun, paying them generously to manage the animals. They didn't disappoint. Every beast looked healthy, glossy, and well cared for. Hienchun was trimming the claws of an eclipse wolf. Hishan was polishing the tusks of a mist elephant. When the ember hawk laid an egg and flew off to hunt, Hishan even took turns incubating it himself. Their effort showed in every detail. Young master, you're here. Hishan hurried over, wiping his hands. Hienchun set down her shears and followed. You looked them over. You've taken care of my treasures properly. It's what we should do, Hishan said, scratching his head. The reason was obvious. Your wages were high enough to make ordinary people treat work like worship. You asked. They've been taking blood essence pills for a month. Any changes? Hishan immediately brought out detailed notes. Weight, endurance, strength tests, temperament changes, growth rates. The effects were already obvious. Clear improvement across the board. You nodded to yourself. Old Xia really did know his craft. Seeing the siblings smiling, proud and earnest, you patted Hishan on the shoulder. Keep this up. Next year, I might upgrade to an even bigger estate. Hishan's eyes lit up. I won't let you down, young master. Another month passed. At dusk, after finishing your daily cultivation, old Wang came in with a strange expression. Young master, a Danxia sect elder has arrived. Elder Xia Hueda. He was described as hairy-faced and thunder-mouthed, the kind of person who could scold you into repentance with one breath. Old Wang asked carefully, will you receive him? You looked at him. Old Wang, do you want to live? Old Wang instantly stiffened. Young master. I do. Very much. Then prepare the best banquet we can manage. I'll have a proper talk with this master refiner. At once, young master. For a moment, you considered going out personally. Then you paused. An 8th grade pill refiner like you greeting some 7th grade nobody at the gate? Ridiculous. You waved. Old Wang, bring that minor refiner in. Old Wang's eyes gleamed as if he was enjoying your arrogance. As you command, young master. I'll invite Elder Xia inside. Old Wang turned to leave. You stopped him. Wait. A beat. Forget it. I'll go myself. You strode to the gate with Old Wang beside you. Outside stood Xia Hueda in pale gray robes, spotless and neat. His brows were sharp, his eyes bright, and despite his age, his presence was crisp and fierce. He looked younger than when you'd seen him before. Not just younger, fresher. Like someone who hadn't yet reached the day he was meant to die. You stepped forward and clasped his hand with enthusiasm. Elder Xia, long time no see. Xia Hueda stiffened. He yanked his hand back and took a step away, clearly unsettled. Young master we have never met. You smiled like it didn't matter. I've admired you for a long time. You and Xia Hueda took your seats in the main hall. A feast covered the table, dish after dish laid out like someone was trying to bribe the heavens. Come, Master Xia. You lifted your cup. A toast for helping me refine pills. You drained it in one gulp. Xia Hueda raised his own cup politely. Young master you're being too generous. The payment for the blood essence pills is already settled. You only smiled. Then eat. No need for extra words. The two of you drank, ate, and chatted for a while, keeping things light. Only after the mood warmed did Xia Hueda finally steer the conversation where he wanted. May I ask, your ancestor, the pill refiner, which sect did he come from? You put on a surprised look, like the question caught you off guard. Master Xia, it's been too long. Even my elders don't remember. I truly don't know. Why, is something wrong? No. Xia Hueda smiled. It's just that, from the formula and method of your blood beast pills, your ancestors' skill was very high. How high? Xia Hueda thought seriously for a beat, then said, as high as a 3- or 4-story building. You laughed and leaned back, acting like a fool who couldn't recognize praise. Master Xia, you flatter me. But Xia Hueda didn't laugh along. He studied you and continued calmly. The important part is, many of your ancestors' techniques feel extremely similar to the Danxia sect style. Oh. You widened your eyes. Really? He hesitated for 2 breaths, then said more quietly, even. I saw traces of my own methods inside them. Your expression sharpened into disbelief. That's possible? Xia Hueda nodded, serious. I find it strange as well. That's why I came to ask. You rubbed your chin and spoke as if remembering something distant. I can't say whether my ancestor had ties to Danxia sect, but I do know quite a bit about his life. Xia Hueda's eyes lit up. Then please, young master tell me. So you told him a story. Not just any story, but the life of one of Danxia sect's childless founding patriarchs, with a few details nudged here and there. You spoke smoothly, like you'd rehearsed it for years. The more he listened, the narrower his eyes became, interest and shock mixing together. When you finished, he still looked half unconvinced, as if his mind was fighting his heart. So you struck while he was wavering. You pulled out a portrait and shoved it right in front of him. Master Xia, do you recognize this? The instant he saw it, his body jolted like lightning hit him. His face flushed, his breath caught, and he nearly lost control of himself. He choked out. Young Master He, you are truly a descendant of our Danxia sect's old ancestor. You played along, blinking hard. Is that really so? Absolutely. Before you could process anything, Xia Huida was already on his feet. That very night he rushed back to Danxia sect to retrieve the old ancestor's portrait. When he returned and placed the two side by side, they looked like twins born from the same brushstroke. Xia Huida's excitement almost boiled over. Young Master He, do you believe me now? You clicked your tongue, acting stunned. They're identical. This is terrifying. How can this happen? It means you truly are his descendant. Xia Huida looked like a man who'd just found his bloodline after 1,000 years. Then he told you the old ancestor's story in detail, piece by piece, with the pride and emotion of someone reciting sacred scripture. Because in truth, that legacy ran straight through his own lineage. Of course he was excited. You nodded, oh, and ah, at the right moments, wearing a face full of awe. While inside, you felt nothing at all. You'd already studied the story until you could recite it in your sleep. You were so bored you nearly did fall asleep. At the end, you finally sighed dramatically and declared it all fate. Then you grabbed his arm and announced on the spot, Old Xia, let's become sworn brothers. Xia Huida nearly tripped. That's inappropriate. The age gap is. You waved it off. Age is nothing. Gender is no barrier. Before he could escape, you dragged him straight into it. You'd already had Old Wang prepare an incense altar in advance. You dropped to your knees and began, Lord Guanair above. Xia Huida froze. Who is Lord Guanair? None of your business. You yanked him down. Together, you bowed 3 times and kowtowed 9 times, finishing the ritual properly. From that moment on, things became absurd in the best way. You still called him master. And he called you little brother. By the time the ceremony ended, dawn was already creeping in. You stretched lazily. Old Xia, I guess this counts as recognizing my ancestors and returning to my roots. Xia Huida stared at you like his mind hadn't caught up yet. I suppose it does. You had returned to your roots, sure. The only issue was you'd quietly added a whole generation to yourself. And you had a feeling the next time you returned to your roots, you might add another. Still, every generation you gained was earned with effort. Your conscience was clean. Half a year passed. Ever since the Brotherhood ritual, you visited Danxia sect often. You told Xia Huida you were a 3rd-rank pill refiner and that you'd read many ancestral pill manuals. Talking about pill refining with him became natural, even comfortable. And more importantly, you kept saying things that hit the right points. Time after time, Xia Huida left conversations with you looking like someone had pulled him out of a fog. The bond between you grew warmer, closer, more genuine. Eventually, he also opened up about Deng Wanchu's condition. After listening, you asked carefully, for sister-in-law's situation, the reviving yang pill should work, right? Xia Huida stared at you, surprised, then let out a long silent sigh. I've studied many pills. I believe the same. The reviving young pill is the last hope. You purposely let conflict show on your face, making it obvious enough for him to catch. Xia Huida rose slowly. His voice turned heavy. Little brother He, do you know something about the reviving young pill? You didn't answer. You only looked troubled. After a long moment, you forced out a relieved smile. Old Xia, you're thinking too much. How could I have news of that pill? It needs earth source to refine. Even among 8th-grade pills, it's top tier. Xia Huida looked unconvinced, but fear and urgency wrestled inside him. He didn't push further. The next morning, after breakfast, you didn't cultivate. You waited. You hadn't arranged a meeting, but you knew he would come. Sure enough, as the morning mist thinned, Old Wang announced Xia Huida had arrived. Xia Huida entered with Old Wang and sat down, hesitating like he'd swallowed a stone. You stood and smiled. Old CA? What brings you here? Missing my chef's cooking again. You poured him tea and watched his hands. Why so quiet today? You teased. Getting shy. He finally spoke. Little brother I have an unworthy request. Say it. I want you to share any news you have about the reviving young pill. He chose his words carefully. He didn't accuse you of having clues. He didn't want to sound aggressive. He didn't want to trigger suspicion. You froze, then set your teacup down slowly. Old Sia, your devotion to sister-in-law is rare. But the reviving young pill isn't a casual matter. One Earth Source ingredient is enough to make ultimate grandmasters kill each other for it. Sia Hueda understood immediately. You weren't refusing. You were asking for a price. His face brightened so fast it was almost embarrassing. His lips trembled. And it was obvious he had come prepared. Little brother he said urgently. If you give me the news, I swear I'll refine pills for you for life. If you need pill recipes, I'll hand them over. And I'll provide an Earth Source to you. If you have other conditions, name them. You caught one word like a hook catching flesh. Earth Source? Danxia sect has an Earth Source. In your last experience, Danxia sect didn't have one. If they had, they wouldn't have gone to assist Lian Long in refining the spirit fusion mother and child pills. Xia Hueda hesitated, then spoke honestly. We have news of an Earth Source. Danxia sect paid a huge price and sent 5 ultimate grandmasters to compete for it. Once we obtain it, we'll hand it to you. You nodded slowly. According to how things had developed before, Danxia sect would not obtain it this time either. Which meant they couldn't hand it to you. So you decided you would take it yourself. You turned your head and acted conflicted for a while, then finally said, Old Xia, your sincerity moves me. Xia Hueda jolted up so hard he knocked his teacup over. Little brother you agree. Because we're good brothers. All right. Ha ha. His face tried to hold back joy and failed completely. His expression looked like it was collapsing under the pressure. Then he burst into wild laughter that made Old Wang stare. After he finally calmed down, you said, Don't celebrate yet. I have one condition. Xia Hueda stiffened. What condition? You must tell me the exact information about that Earth Source. Otherwise, how do I know you're not just feeding me smoke? Relief flooded his face. No problem. Then he gave you everything in detail. The Earth Source would appear in 10 days in Liuzhou Prefecture, which governed Yutong County. But not in Yutong County itself. It would emerge in Maosen County within Liuzhou. At full speed, you could reach it in 5 or 6 days. Your current strength had already slightly surpassed Yan Jixue. Within these few days, you would complete your 3rd source power refinement. When that happened, you would fully surpass Yan Jixue, the top ultimate grandmaster. Even better, the other ultimate grandmasters didn't even know you existed. If you stayed patient, you had a strong chance of taking the Earth Source cleanly. You asked who calculated the time and location. Xia Hueda explained that Great Qian had more than 10 ultimate grandmasters who could roughly predict Earth Source appearances. You pressed further about these people. You learned their fused Earth Sources were all Kuan Earth Affinity types. Kuan Earth Affinity ultimate grandmasters were close to the Earth. They could sense ley lines, manipulate feng shui, and draw strength from the ground beneath their feet. And their most valuable ability, at least to everyone else, was prediction. This time, the ultimate grandmaster who discovered the Earth Source had fused with the Water River chart, ranked 17th among Kuan Earth Affinity Earth Sources, a fairly strong one. You could already see the pattern. Once enough Earth Sources appeared, classifications would form, and early advantages would disappear. Which meant you had to move fast and collect more while the world was still blind. You yourself had fused with a Qian Metal Affinity Earth Source. Offense-focused. Toughness and sharpness enhanced. Combat power boosted directly and brutally. Back when Lian Long was besieged, you were the main attacker not only because of fate, but because Qian Metal made you a weapon. After extracting every detail from Xia Hueda, you agreed. As long as he fulfilled his conditions, you would give him the reviving young pill. You already knew he wouldn't obtain the Earth Source this time. Later, you planned to demand a few 9th-grade pill recipes as compensation. After sending him off, you returned to Cultivation. You decided to train 3 days before leaving, aiming to finish the third source power refinement and add one more layer of certainty. Time flew. 3 days late.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
You completed the third condensation of source power just in time. Your strength has completely surpassed Yan Jixue, reaching above top-tier Grandmaster, only trailing Lin Jingji's level. With your current overwhelming combat power, even among ultimate Grandmasters, you rank below about a dozen and above 200 to 300. Although the ranking description is a bit vague, it doesn't stop you from truly being quite powerful. That very day, you flew toward Maosan County. On the third day, you were flying high in the sky. You happened upon a flock of migrating wild geese. You voluntarily helped guide them along their route. To keep up with you, the geese flapped their wings so hard they left after images. After you left with satisfaction, the geese exclaimed that windbreaker today was really something. The journey was smooth without any trouble. On the 5th day, you arrived at Maosan County. You activated divine microvision and concealed yourself near a mountain forest where the Earth Source was about to appear. This Earth Source must be known to more than one group. As the saying goes, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind it. You must be that oriole standing behind them. On the 7th day, dusk deepened and night completely swallowed the land. You had been lying in wait for 2 days and hadn't seen a single living person. You began to wonder if Xia Hueda was playing games with you. Finally, 2 ultimate grandmasters flew in from afar. One wore neat clothing, exuding a violent aura, his tiger-like eyes scanning fiercely around. The other was a bald man holding a monk's staff, dressed in bright yellow robes, undoubtedly a monk. They didn't hide anything and directly hovered above the spot where the Earth Source would appear. The 2 glanced at each other and smiled, then the old monk spoke loudly, "Stop hiding, come out." You frowned, thinking to yourself, are you kidding? Am I supposed to reveal myself just like that? Though puzzled, you didn't emerge. Probably this old monk was trying to deceive you. 2 breaths later, the old monk surprisingly said, "Amitba, brother he, come out." No way, is this even reasonable? Your scalp tingled and your eyes widened. If I get exposed like this, I might as well give up. During the previous simulation, except for freely soaring in the sky, you never revealed the combat power of an ultimate grandmaster. You were currently fully operating the art of hidden breath, masking your aura. How could you possibly be discovered? Resolving to take action, just as you prepared to go out and kill these 2, a hearty laugh came from a nearby forest. Ha ha, Master Mingjue's strength is indeed profound and unfathomable. I am impressed. 3 people emerged from the forest. One had cunning eyes and a sly temperament. That sentence came from him. You glanced at this sly man and cursed inwardly, damn, what level are you? We share the same surname. You felt indignant. Because you had exposed yourself often before, you had learned to recognize people who fit your profile. This time, you almost lost your composure. You warned yourself to be more cautious in the future. Next to Master Mingjue, the man with the violent aura gave a fierce smile and said, He Tianlei, you know Master Mingjue has come. Aren't you going to scram? He Tianlei exchanged a glance with the 2 behind him, sneered disdainfully, then snarled, Scram we shall. Whoosh! The 3 shot toward the dark horizon like 3 meteors, disappearing in an instant. You nodded. As expected of my He family, cowardly with style. Just after they left, the aura beneath Master Mingjue and the violent man suddenly surged. The surrounding world's energy was abruptly drawn toward the patch of earth beneath their feet. The night wind blew sharply. The forest rustled as if countless ghosts lurked within the trees. In a moment, a faint mist abruptly appeared on the ground, flickering and expanding. Master Mingjue and the others' faces lit up with joy, showing expressions of just as expected. The flickering mist swelled with the wind, quickly reaching 6 or 7 meters high. Then it stopped growing and floated alone, like a spirit of the world. Master Mingjue looked excited, flipped his wrist, and took out a fist-sized earth source bowl. Source power was emitted carefully to envelop the delicate earth source, as if holding a cup of boiling water about to overflow. Once fully wrapped, the source power retracted, directly sealing the earth source inside the bowl. At the moment it was placed in the bowl, the earth source seemed to come alive. The mist surged, then suddenly leapt out in alert. Snap! The earth source bowl's lid closed, and the earth source was instantly pressed back inside. Ha ha ha, got it! Master Mingjue and the other laughed heartily. Let's go. Master Mingjue was in high spirits. The two slightly gathered strength, ready to soar into the sky. Go? Where do you think you're going? A fierce shout rang out. Master Mingjue and the other were immediately forced down as 5 ultimate grandmasters swiftly surrounded them. Your gaze sharpened, guessing these 5 were the ultimate grandmasters Danxia sect had invited to fight for the earth source. Hand it over, one of the 5, a ugly man with a handlebar mustache, said sternly. Master Mingjue's expression turned serious. Amitba, this poor monk does not understand your meaning. The handlebar mustache man sneered, trying to threaten them. A short man among the 5 cursed angrily, why waste words with him? Boom! A huge iron hammer slammed straight at Master Mingjue and the other. Seeing their comrade attack, the other 4 also jumped in. The earth shook with a thunderous battle, waking you from drowsiness. Soon, Master Mingjue's agonized screams came, Amitba. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Though strong, Master Mingjue and the other were not a match for 5 attacking at once. Their robes were torn and dirty, the bald monk's violent temper had cooled, and his eyes were simple now. Actually, neither suffered heavy injuries. Their strength was part of the reason, but the other 5 hadn't gone all out. Because Master Mingjue was from Vajra Temple, it would be troublesome to offend him fatally. Finally, Master Mingjue handed over the earth source. They gained nothing and just took a severe beating. Master Mingjue rubbed his shiny bald head and asked the 5, May we leave now? The handlebar mustache man laughed, Monk, please go ahead. Master Mingjue and the other flew away in an instant. Just as they were about to vanish into the night, Master Mingjue's resentful warning echoed from afar, Amitba. Eastern Sea Pavilion people, I will remember you. The 5 from Eastern Sea Pavilion paid no mind, carrying the earth source as they flew toward Danxia sect. From the earlier clash, you could gauge their strength. You were confident you could kill them all. But you knew there must be hidden experts still lurking, or else during the previous simulation, the earth source would have been successfully delivered to Danxia sect. You remained hidden, still not making a move. You wanted to be the last Oriole. You trailed the 5 from a distance, unhurriedly following. With your current power, they couldn't detect you at all. On the first day, no one stopped you on the road, you were calm. On the second day, still no one appeared, you felt slightly strange. On the third day, no enemies appeared, you grew puzzled. On the fourth day, the 5 continued smoothly toward Danxia sect. You were completely confused, thinking, still going? I'm almost home. On the 5th day, if all went well, the 5 would arrive at Danxia sect today. You thought if they could really deliver the earth source to Danxia sect, it would eventually belong to you. So you no longer plan to kill or loot anyone, just letting them run to Danxia sect. You wanted to see if they could reach Danxia sect smoothly. Day 5, evening. The silhouette of Danxia mountain was already visible in the distance. You grew even more vigilant. The final stretch was always the most prone to mishaps. Yet the anticipated interference never came. These 5 ultimate grandmasters from Eastern Sea Pavilion flew straight into Danxia sect with the earth source. You hovered far above Danxia sect, frowning deeply. What's going on? Could it be that old Xia already obtained this earth source during the last simulation, but kept quiet after failing to refine it? As you pondered this, the ultimate grandmasters from Eastern Sea Pavilion began emerging from Danxia sect, scattering in all directions. But you noticed only 4 had left, 1 remained behind. Why is 1 staying? Getting late-night snacks. You patiently waited another hour. By now night had fallen, enveloping everything in darkness. The ugly man with the mustache finally flew out from Donxia sect. But your eyes narrowed when you spotted the earth source bowl hanging from his waist. This mustached rogue had taken the earth source. Xia Huida had schemed relentlessly for this earth source. He'd never willingly give it up. Most likely this scoundrel had bullied his way into taking it using his ultimate grandmaster status. Looking down at Donxia sect, you indeed saw Xia Huida chasing after him. Xia Huida's face was filled with despair as he stared fixedly at the direction the mustached man had flown. Even after losing sight of his target, Xia Huida remained rooted in the sect's plaza, his clenched fists trembling uncontrollably. Deng Rusong also came running out, your first time seeing him in this simulation. During the last simulation, you'd accompanied Deng Rusong through his final 2 years. You'd personally witnessed Deng Rusong's passing. Seeing this lively version of him now felt strangely surreal. Though equally furious, Deng Rusong maintained his composure, always rational and considerate of the bigger picture. With sighing reassurances, Deng Rusong patted Xia Huida's shoulder and half-dragged the distraught elder back to the main hall. You raised your gaze toward the mustached man's retreating figure. Your eyes turned icy. Greedy bastard, taking everything with you. You flew directly toward the scoundrel. Accelerating, you circled ahead to intercept his flight path, pretending to coincidentally cross paths. He hadn't realized he was about to meet his obstacle. As you passed each other midair, the man gave you a puzzled glance. You were a complete stranger. You mirrored appropriate confusion before stopping and calling out, "Honored warrior, a moment please." Seeing your politeness, the man halted but maintained a safe distance. He asked gruffly, "What business have you, brother?" You pointed toward Donxia sect. Did you just come from Donxia sect? Indeed. Feigning sudden realization, are you perhaps the ultimate grandmaster assisting Donxia sect with the earth source matter? The man eyed you warily. Who are you? An apologetic expression surfaced. No need for caution. I too came to assist Donxia sect, but was delayed. How did things proceed? The man stiffened. I know nothing of any earth source. The sheer audacity of denying knowledge while wearing the earth source bowl at his waist. Though inwardly cold, you maintained courtesy. Honored warrior, there's no need for such. The man tilted his head. No need for what? No need to keep living. Cling. Your soul-awakening blade flashed with starlight. Like lightning splitting the dark sky, a brilliant instant illuminated everything. This was your most powerful possible strike when launching a surprise attack. The blade's arc sliced diagonally from the man's left shoulder to right abdomen. Crack. His body separated cleanly at the waist. Aya. The upper half desperately retreated while using source power to contain spilling organs. These emergency maneuvers felt oddly familiar, reminded you of another unfortunate soul who'd suffered similarly. The key difference being this bastard had no reviving yang pill for salvation. With a flick of source power, you retrieved the earth source bowl from his falling lower half. A quick check confirmed the earth source remained inside before storing it away. Now resembling some grotesque punching bag, the legless torso frantically tried escaping. But his pathetic speed allowed you to leisurely follow. Keeping pace alongside the panicking torso, you matched his movement perfectly. Leaning close enough to whisper in his ear, "Naughty children shouldn't steal." Your ghostly voice filled him with primal terror. Gra. Die. With a contorted face, he launched a source power-enhanced fist at your head. You casually dodged. Hitting your teacher? Let me show you some discipline. Another flash of steel. His ugly head went airborne, tumbling twice. At the peak of its arc, countless blade lights wove a deadly net. The head disintegrated into minced flesh before source power scattered every last particle. His remaining body received identical treatment, utterly erased from existence. He came quietly and left even quieter. After cleaning up, you discreetly landed within Donxia sect. Now you understood Xia Huida's early demise. Such repeated blows of despair must have shattered his spirit. Striding cheerfully into the main hall, you found Xia Huida slumped in a chair, pallid and broken. Deng Rusong was nowhere to be seen. Seeing you enter, Xia Huida's lips moved soundlessly. You smiled lightly. Old Xia, why so glum? Lifting his head with effort, Xia Huida rasped, young master he. I cannot exchange for your reviving young pill. Taking the adjacent seat, you asked calmly, failed to secure the earth source. Sia Hueda looked up startled before shaking his head bitterly. We had it, but then, sigh. You spoke gently. Old Sia, I understand your pain. But don't despair, this isn't irreparable. Confused eyes met yours. With a soft chuckle, you may doubt this, but I'll trade the reviving yang pill even without the earth source. Sia Hueda gaped in shock. Young master he. Can this be true? Absolutely. Opening your palm revealed a thumb-sized pale green pill. Its medicinal aroma immediately lifted spirits and cleared minds. Sia Hueda trembled violently, his feverish gaze locked onto your palm, unable to look away. Sia Hueda's gaze burned with obsessive desire, his rapid breathing audible to your ears. Yet you casually stored away the reviving young pill. Sia Hueda froze momentarily. Young master he? Old Sia, there's something I want to mention. Sia Hueda immediately straightened up. Young master he, all the conditions I promised earlier still stand. However you want compensation for the earth source, I'll agree. You nodded. The conditions are negotiable. I want to discuss something else. What is it? You looked at him. Old Sia, I feel our relationship has grown distant. Young master he, why would you say that? Aren't we sworn brothers? Why do you keep calling me young master? Sia Hueda quickly corrected himself. Brother, you must have misheard. This was your first time witnessing Sia Hueda's masterful skill of changing expressions. You knew Sia Hueda would do anything for the reviving young pill. He might even solve advanced calculus problems if required. So you shook your head and stopped dwelling on formalities. Old Sia, there's serious business to discuss, you said calmly. Sia Hueda looked impatient. Brother he, I'll do anything. Old Sia, your tone turned uncharacteristically serious. Put aside your lovesick brain for now. Let reason occupy the high ground of intelligence. I'm talking serious matters. Sia Hueda realized this wasn't about conditions for the reviving yang pill. He composed himself. Brother he, speak your mind. You went straight to the point. Did the other 4 people with that ugly brute know he took the earth source? Sia Hueda jolted in shock, bewildered how you knew about the Eastern Sea Pavilion's 5 members and that the ugly man had taken the earth source. Sia Hueda eyed you suspiciously. Brother he, have you been lying in ambush at our Danxia sect all night? You waved the reviving young pill. Old Sia, just tell me if the other 4 knew. Your words put Sia Hueda on guard. But seeing the pill in your hand, he'd practically sell himself to you right now. Sia Hueda answered directly. Brother he, the other 4 didn't know Bao Lian stole the earth source. Moreover, Bao Lian threatened us not to tell anyone. The undisguised loathing in Sia Hueda's eyes was palpable. You nodded. Good. Sia Hueda tilted his head slightly. What do you mean? Your expression turned grave. Old Sia, remember this. Remember what? Whatever it is, just remember first. All right. After a moment's thought, you continued. Remember, Bao Lian has completely disappeared. If Eastern Sea Pavilion asks about him, you must say he left afterward without taking the earth source. Sia Hueda looked at you incredulously, fully understanding what completely disappeared implied. He knew you couldn't possibly make an ultimate grandmaster vanish on your own. Only your family could accomplish that. In Sia Hueda's eyes, you grew even more formidable and mysterious. Of course, Sia Hueda didn't think your family would come to Danxia sect to seize this earth source, since it was meant for you anyway. Sia Hueda's eyes covertly scanned you, searching for clues. Seeing Sia Hueda's wary expression, you said, Old Sia, no need for alarm. I'm considering Danxia sect's welfare. Danxia sect's welfare? Sia Hueda paused instinctively, but quickly grasped your meaning. If Eastern Sea Pavilion discovered Bao Lian never returned, they'd inevitably come questioning Danxia sect. If they learned Bao Lian had stolen Danxia sect's earth source, the sect would be suspected in his disappearance. Though Danxia sect lacked the strength itself, they could enlist other ultimate grandmasters, making them targets for Eastern Sea Pavilion's retaliation. Thus, by having Sia Hueda claim Bao Lian never took the earth source, Danxia sect would avoid suspicion. Moreover, this wasn't just empty talk. Your reviving young pill could awaken Deng Washu, proving the earth source had been refined into the pill, solidifying the claim that Bao Lian never stole it. This way, even Eastern Sea Pavilion would have to believe Bao Lian accidentally vanished into some dimensional rift. Xia Huida instantly understood this reasoning. Looking up at you in astonishment, he felt profound guilt. Just 3 seconds ago, he'd suspected you of scheming against Danxia sect. Now he realized this unlikely brother genuinely cared for the sect, moving him deeply. You really, he could cry. Worthy brother, this elder brother wronged you. Xia Huida wholeheartedly accepted this 50-year age gap bond of fate. You smiled brightly, your super promotion in seniority, plan achieving a milestone victory. Laughing heartily, you said, haha, dear brother, please rise. Oh, you weren't kneeling. You'd recalled how sworn brothers in Water Margin would excitedly kneel, but apparently that custom didn't exist here. Standing up, you said, Old Xia, let's go see your wife, my sister-in-law now. Your words made Xia Huida stiffen. Faced with this pivotal moment, Xia Huida wasn't as elated as expected. Fearful of any mishap, he became completely solemn and composed. Just then, Deng Rusing hurried in. As he walked, Deng Rusing announced loudly, Huida, I've contacted 9 ultimate grandmasters. Seeing you, Deng Rusong abruptly stopped, his expression tightening as he asked, and this is? Xia Huida stepped forward and explained everything about you to Deng Rusong. After listening, Deng Rusong frowned deeply. Brother, he has a reviving young pill? You produced the pill again for display. Even the normally composed Deng Rusong lost control of his expression seeing the legendary pill in person. He grew equally excited. Brother, I want to thank your entire family. You wagged a middle finger. Sect leader Deng, no cursing. Deng Rusong chuckled awkwardly, realizing his poor phrasing. Brother, my apologies for the rudeness. You then asked, from what sect leader Deng said upon entering, were you gathering reinforcements? Deng Rusong calmed down and nodded silently. You inwardly admired how Deng Rusong was truly a man of action, perfect sect leader material. After their earlier discussion, Deng Rusong and Xia Huida had immediately decided to summon ultimate grandmasters for retaliation. Deng Rusong had sent messages inviting 9 ultimate grandmasters to Danxia sect. They contacted so many because not all would be available. The sect couldn't expect them to come at a moment's notice. Realistically, only 4 or 5 would arrive. In your previous simulation, when these ultimate grandmasters learned they'd be confronting one of the 5 great sects Eastern Sea Pavilion, they'd all backed out immediately. The matter was ultimately dropped, with Danxia sect swallowing the bitter pill. After all, weakness was the original sin. Fortunately, in this simulation, you'd appeared as their savior. Not only did you bring the precious reviving Yang pill, you'd also eliminated Bao Lian, giving Xia Huida and Deng Rusong closure. Though they didn't believe you personally killed Bao Lian, their gratitude toward your family extended to you. After all, they didn't know your other family members, or that your vast family consisted solely of you. With a carefree smile, you said, Old Xia, sect leader Deng, let's go. Time to get serious. Excitement sparkled in both men's eyes. Xia Huida couldn't contain his joy. Brother, follow me. You followed the 2 familiar figures to the secret chamber where Deng Wanshu lay. The 3 of you stood before that familiar cold jade bed. Deng Wanshu slept peacefully, her beautiful, gentle face utterly serene. She didn't know her fate would completely deviate from its original course today. You opened your palm to reveal the reviving young pill. I won't do this for you. Which of you wants the honor? Deng Rusong chuckled lightly. Huida, you should do it. Xia Huida nodded solemnly. He had waited too long for this moment. Last time, he'd waited until life's very end without achieving his desired outcome. With utmost care, Xia Huida took the reviving young pill from your hand. He didn't use true qi to hold it. Only the physical sensation in his palm could reassure him. Gently, he placed the pill into Deng Wanshu's rosy lips. Then a stream of soft true qi flowed from Xia Huida into Deng Wanshu's body. As the qi circulated, the reviving young pill slowly dissolved, spreading through her body along the gentle energy currents. Within moments, the unnatural pallor faded from Dang Wanshu's skin, replaced by healthy, natural color. Hope blazed in both Xia Huida and Dang Ruseng's eyes. Xia Huida controlled his qi with even greater caution, like walking on thin ice. When the pill's medicinal properties had fully dispersed, he carefully withdrew his qi. Xia Huida exhaled heavily in relief, then immediately fixed his gaze on Dang Wanshu's face. His heart pounded like thunder, his breathing rapid, like a prisoner awaiting judgment. Dang Ruseng watched just as intently, though calmer outwardly. The unconscious twitching of his facial muscles betrayed his inner turmoil. Time passed second by second. Dang Wanshu continued breathing steadily in deep slumber. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Just as the light of hope in the two men's eyes began fading, Dang Wanshu finally stirred. Her long eyelashes fluttered slightly. That tiny movement seized both men's hearts. Unconsciously, they leaned closer for a better view. Suddenly, Dang Wanshu's lashes began trembling violently, matching the frantic rhythm of their heartbeats. Then the trembling stopped abruptly. Her beautiful eyes flew open like dazzling fireworks bursting across the night sky. Those clear eyes remained dazed for 2 seconds before focusing on the two tearful men before her. Wanshu, little sister. Xia Huida and Dang Rusong's voices cracked with emotion. Those long-awaited greetings carried years of bitterness and struggle. Only they knew what hardships they'd endured. Years of pent-up emotions left both men choking back sobs. Dang Wanshu stared blankly at the weeping men. After seeming to ponder for 2 seconds, she asked innocently, "Big brother, second brother, whose funeral are you crying at?" Xia Huida and Dang Rusong froze, then hurriedly wiped their tears. A moved smile spread across Xia Huida's face. Wanshu, second brother, wasn't crying. The wind got in my eyes. Blame this tightly sealed secret chamber for being too windy. Dang Wanshu burst into silvery laughter so infectious it lightened your heart too. Ha ha, what nonsense, second brother. Still as unserious as ever. Then she blinked. Huh? Second brother, big brother, why am I in a secret chamber? Wait. Did we escape that marrow-washing realm expert? Where's third brother? Did he run away first? Xia Huida and Dang Rusong exchanged amused glances before looking indulgently at their sister's rapid-fire questions. Wanshu, take it slow, Xia Huida said gently but firmly. I'll explain everything carefully. Seeing your task complete, you quietly turned to leave. Behind you, conversation continued, mostly Dang Wanshu chattering like a sparrow. Wanshu, actually, it's been 50 years. I slept that long? Yes. Why didn't anyone wake me? We all wanted to. Wanting isn't enough. Haha, we really did try waking you. You didn't try hard enough. Were you starving? Haha, exactly. Then I'll cook for you. Full bellies mean loud voices to wake me. Deal, ha ha. Giggle. You left the chamber. Left the Danxia sect. Reached the mountain gate. Turning back, you saw, when had this happened? Vibrant flowers blanketing the entire Danxia mountain, welcoming its own springtime. Returning to He Manor, old Wang rushed out anxiously. Young master, you're finally back. You frowned slightly. Old Wang, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, young master. Then why the urgency? To show my concern for you. Old Wang, you truly deserve being Yutong County's highest paid steward. Your upward management skills are impeccable. Old Wang bowed happily, genuinely pleased at your safe return. After dismissing him, you headed straight to the cultivation chamber to examine your newly acquired Earth Source treasure. Sitting cross-legged, your consciousness entered the simulation space. As an ultimate grandmaster, you could perceive the Earth Source without activating divine microvision. Concentrating, the mist around the Earth Source dispersed, revealing 3 masks. 3 terrifying, exaggerated masks with grotesque fangs and intricate, colorful patterns. Information flooded your mind. Nua Opera masks ranked 5th among positive affinity Earth sources. Warriors who merge with them become enigmatic, excelling in divination and mystical arts. Mastering all 3 masks grants 3 abilities. First, complete physical transformation. Even close acquaintances couldn't recognize you. Second, perfect aura concealment. essential for travel or less savory activities. Third, immunity to divination. Even other positive in ultimate grandmasters couldn't deduce your information. Nuwa opera masks? Interesting. Though you couldn't merge earth sources beyond your dry metal affinity, you could master them without merging to access their powers. For other ultimate grandmasters, unmerged earth sources would vanish within breaths. But you could store mastered earth sources permanently in your simulation space. Your eyes gleamed. Damn. This cheat is overpowered. Eagerly, you began mastering the first transformation mask. You tested on familiar faces like Xia Hueda to verify its potency. On the second day after you comprehended the Nuwa opera masks, the three powerhouses Xia Hueda, Deng Rusong, and Deng Wanshu arrived together. Xia Hueda seemed to have regained his youth, shedding his previous melancholy demeanor and appearing carefree and unrestrained. Deng Rusong remained composed as ever, though his eyes occasionally revealed traces of contentment and ease. This was Deng Wanshu's first visit to your manor. She already knew you were the one who provided the reviving young pill to wake her. Her gaze was filled with gratitude and curiosity as she studied you intently. Xia Hueda carried a wooden box filled with pill recipes, and generations of pill refiners works on the true explanation of pill refining. Additionally, the box contained a translucent emerald jade piece token. You understood this was Xia Hueda fulfilling his promise in exchange for the reviving young pill. You greeted the trio at your manor's entrance. "Everyone, welcome," you said, your eyes on Deng Wanshu while reaching for Xia Hueda's box. "This must be Sister Wanshu in the box?" Xia Hueda smiled wryly and handed you the box without protest. Deng Wanshu chuckled at seeing you tuck the box under your arm. "I haven't been packed into a little box yet. But thank you for the reviving young pill, brother he." You smiled and stepped aside, gesturing toward the manor. "Don't just stand at the door. Everyone should go back now. We wouldn't want to intrude." "Wait, go back." Xia Hueda froze mid-step along with the others. "Just a little joke, hope you don't mind?" Deng Wanshu replied cheerfully, "Even if we minded, we wouldn't say so." "Excellent. Please come in and make yourselves at home, just like you would in someone else's house." You ushered them to the main hall where tea was served. After sipping his tea, Xia Hueda explained the box contained 7th to 9th grade pill recipes, 18 9th grade, 37 8th grade, and 62 7th grade recipes. During your last simulation, you'd obtained some 7th and 8th grade recipes. Now you gained 18 9th grade, 32 8th grade, and 33 7th grade recipes. As for recipes below 7th grade, Xia Hueda hadn't brought them due to their overwhelming quantity, but you could consult them anytime at Danxia Sect. Apart from the 9th grade recipes, you had little interest in the other materials. But the Jade Piece token intrigued you greatly. This token was a heritage item from the sect's founder, passed down only to successive sect leaders. It could analyze failed pills, identifying exactly where they fell short of success. Pill refiners often produced many failed pills without understanding the specific reasons, whether the fire was too strong or ingredients were added too late. They could only accumulate experience through repeated attempts, like taking an exam knowing only whether they passed, not which questions were wrong. The peace token, however, directly pinpointed the problems, allowing targeted improvements that dramatically increased refining efficiency. You examined the token with delight. Though your 8th grade refining skills were mastered, the leap to 9th grade had stymied countless talents. With this token, your confidence soared. "This is marvelous," you thought. "Like having a personal tutor who compiles mistake logs." Seeing your enthusiasm, Xia Hueda and Deng Rusong relaxed. They knew your family's resources meant you lacked little in recipes. Your legendary ancestor was an 8th grade refiner. But the reviving young pill's main ingredient alone was an earth source. Compensating you with just some 9th grade recipes would have troubled their conscience. Thus Deng Rusong decided to give you the peace token to repay their debt. The token's magic came from containing an earth source itself, though its original form was no longer discernible. In terms of main ingredient value, the token and reviving young pill were comparable. You also gained 18 9th grade recipes plus numerous 7th and 8th grade ones, along with Xia Hueda and Deng Rusong's lifelong refining services. This deal turned out far better than expected. You'd initially planned to just do a good deed at minor loss. Now you'd profited handsomely, though being modest, you restrained your glee. Brother He, are you satisfied with our compensation? Xia Hueda asked. Extremely satisfied. 5-star rating. The conversation continued for hours. Since Wanshu's awakening, Xia Hueda and Deng Rusing visibly glowed with vitality. During small talk, you realized without Wanshu as their worry, Xia Hueda might attempt advancing to 8th or even 9th grade refiner the simulation. Deng Rusong, at mid-level Grandmaster, might also progress toward the ultimate Grandmaster realm. Everything's looking up, you mused. Only Old who remains at Yajianka battling Jinyu Nation. If he knew Sister Wanshu awoke, he'd probably desert to return. As you pondered, Deng Rusong asked, Hueda, have you sent word to Zhangchuan? Xia Hueda laughed boldly. Sent yesterday. Let Hu Zhangchuan see whether medicine could save Wanshu after all. Deng Rusong nodded. You glanced at Deng Wanshu across from you, thinking, Old Hu's returning? This will be lively. Wanshu gazed tenderly at Xia Hueda with dependence in her eyes, then tilted her head thoughtfully, her expression also hopeful. You blinked. Apparently they truly intended to make their three-way relationship work. Maybe Sister Wanshu isn't fickle, you wondered, but her heart simply broke in two, loving different people? In 50 years past Wanshu's eyes, Xia Hueda was dashingly unconventional, his pill-refining talent unparalleled. Hu Zhangchuan was steadfast and reliable, his martial arts peerless. Faced with such extraordinary senior brothers in her youth, young Wanshu couldn't choose decisively. Thus this unconventional yet thrilling arrangement persisted. You couldn't predict their future entanglements, but resolved to grab popcorn at the first sign of Danxia sect drama. That evening, you politely invited them to stay for dinner. To your surprise, they shamelessly accepted, forcing Steward Wang to serve the lavish meal prepared in advance. After rounds of drinks, a drunken Xia Hueda was supported home by Deng Ruseng and Wanshu. Alone, you focused on comprehending the Nua opera masks. Year 4. After relentless communion with the masks, you neared completion of the first mask's comprehension. Within 10 days, you'd master the shape-shifting ability. The year-long intensive effort left you mentally drained, so you decided to rest one final day before the final push. That day, you visited the zoo. A year had passed, auspicious timing to harvest blood. Your precious beasts had consumed 5th-grade blood essence pills daily, eating better than most warriors below dragon transformation. You were eager to see what surprises they'd yield after a year. You arrive at the zoo, where the He siblings come to greet you. Thanks to the high salary you provided, He-shan now has sufficient cultivation resources and has reached the skin refining peak stage, nearing breakthrough to bone tempering. He-chuan's talent is slightly inferior, remaining at mid-stage skin refining. The siblings now live full-time at the zoo, completely dedicated as caretakers. After all, getting sufficient cultivation resources just by feeding animals without life-or-death battles outside is an opportunity too good to pass up. Young Master, here. The siblings happily greet their generous patron. You nod slightly. Bring my precious ones over. Right away, young Master He. Following records, the siblings herd over all animals that have reached adulthood and been fed blood essence pills for a year. The animals line up to have their blood drawn. Soon, you've collected 49 types of beast blood. Just as you're about to finish, a small animal the size of a puppy slowly ambles over and lies down at your feet. The furry little creature has snow-white fur, a small tiger's head, a lion's body, and a thick, bushy tail resembling a wolf's. Picking up the odd hybrid that's shaking its head, you ask the other beasts, whose child is this? He-shan hurriedly approaches. Young Master He, I was just about to tell you. Recently there have been hybrid offspring between different species in the zoo. Hybrids. You ponder thoughtfully. You had originally planned to artificially induce hybridization when animal variety became insufficient, never expecting them to start on their own. So you decide to go with the flow, instructing the He siblings to consciously breed different species together from now on to increase variety. The siblings carefully note this down. Truthfully, it won't require much effort. Just confine the adolescent beasts together and nature will take its course. You return to He Manor with 49 types of beast blood. In the cultivation chamber, you successfully complete the fusion. This fusion brings a pleasant surprise. Your additional physical strength soars to late-stage bone tempering. Your eyes gleam. It seems good blood essence pills are no worse than blood beast pills. Combined with the previous 134 types of beast blood, you've now fused a total of 183 types. With more hybrid animals being born and fed blood essence pills from birth, you'll obtain increasingly higher quality beast blood. Your Garden Gate body technique might truly reach terrifying heights. You carefully consider the He siblings' situation. I wonder if they can handle all the hybridization work. Maybe I should hire a professional breeder. Or have the He siblings take courses like postpartum care for sows. After some thought, you decide to leave professional matters to professionals. You summon Old Wang and instruct him to find animal breeders for mating. Old Wang startles. Young master, humans can't mate with animals, right? You're equally shocked. Old Wang, keep joking and I'll have you do the mating. Old Wang turns pale. While frightened, he has no intention of being fertilized. He immediately runs out. Young master, I'll find breeders right away. Over the next 3 days, after 7 rounds of interviews and rigorous screening, you hire an animal breeder named Dong Jijia at high price, a graduate of the beast taming sect, one of the 5 great sects. Dong Jijia was expelled from the beast taming sect and permanently blacklisted for researching projects like mermaids, centaurs, and elephant men. Dong Jijia is exactly the special talent you need, and your zoo is the perfect stage for his skills. You hit it off immediately, kindred spirits with shared, unconventional interests, brainstorming fantastical new species all night. You bring Dong Jijia to the zoo stage and let him experiment freely. Seeing the massive, powerful beasts, Dong Jijia drools. Your zoo is his paradise. After handling zoo matters, you return to cultivate with the Nua opera masks. 8 days later, you sit cross-legged in the cultivation chamber, your dark eyes slowly opening. Suddenly, an invisible ferocious mask materializes over your face. Your expression darkens as your facial muscles don't twist. Instead, your entire face ripples like water. Within seconds, your appearance has transformed into Xia Huida's likeness. Even your height and mannerisms perfectly match, only unseen body parts might differ. Haha, this is amazing. You're thrilled like a child with a new toy. Your face shifts again, becoming Hu Zhongshuan, Lin Mo, Deng Rusong, various strangers. But you maintain boundaries, never transforming into women for fear of addiction. Finally, you settle on an average-looking man in his early 30s. Disguised as a pill-buying martial artist, you visit the Donjia sect. You want to test whether acquaintances can recognize you or grow suspicious. You land directly before the Donjia sect gates in full view of everyone. The guards mistake you for an ultimate grandmaster and immediately escort you to a VIP reception room. Sitting there, you release a hint of ultimate cultivation and roar, "Have your sect leader receive me." The terrified attendant scrambles to summon Deng Rusong. Soon Deng Rusong enters, maintaining composure. "Great hero, you've come to buy pills? May I know your honorable name?" You scrutinize Deng Rusong's face intensely, making him uncomfortable. "Ahem, great hero, please restrain yourself." You smile slightly. "I never change my name when standing or sitting." Shangguan Gosheng. Clearly Deng Rusong doesn't recognize you or find you familiar. "So it's Hero Shangguan. What pills do you require?" You raise 10 fingers dramatically. 10 blood chi pills. Using ultimate cultivation to buy 10 first-grade blood chi pills nearly breaks Deng Rusong's composure. His expression tightens, suspecting you're causing trouble. Deng Rusong becomes even more cautious, fearing to offend you. Suppressing his emotions, he says calmly, "Hero Shangguan, I don't have them on me. I'll have someone bring them. Make it quick." You do this both to leave an impression and save money. When the pills arrive, you grab them and vanish into the sky. Deng Rusong waves farewell below. Though appearing friendly, inwardly he's cursing up a storm. He congratulates himself for handling the situation without giving you cause for anger. As Deng Rusong turns to leave, your voice suddenly sounds behind him. "Sect leader Deng, were you just cursing me in your heart?" Deng Rusong turned around in shock. Hero Shangguan, what do you mean? How could you possibly know my inner thoughts? The power of an ultimate grandmaster works like this. You wouldn't understand since you're not one. Now tell me how you plan to appease my wrath. Dang Rusing's expression turned grave, fully realizing this was a deliberate provocation that couldn't be reasoned with. He furrowed his brows and tentatively asked, Hero Shangguan, what do you suggest? Dang Rusing had already prepared himself for significant losses. Your Danxia sect doesn't have much to offer. Just compensate me with your local specialties. Clenching his teeth, Dang Rusong said, Hero Shangguan, name your price. Slowly extending one finger, you said fiercely, 1,000 6th grade essence pills. Dang Rusong was stunned. The demand was surprisingly low. If not for your ability to fly, he would have suspected you were begging. In the Danxia sect's warehouses, 6th grade essence pills might not form literal mountains, but they certainly piled up in small hills. Your request was truly insignificant, making Dang Rusang uneasy. Hero Shangguan, perhaps you'd like to take some other local specialties too? You raised an eyebrow. Oh, Ho sect leader Dang is quite understanding. Might as well throw in some 7th and 8th grade pills too. Finally feeling more at ease, Dang Rusong immediately went to retrieve the pills for you. After roughly estimating the value of the large bag of pills, you nodded. Sect leader Dang knows what's good. I'll be back. Dang Rusong could only echo, do visit often. With a sly grin, you shot into the sky again. From high above, you dropped a thick roll of silver notes, slightly more than the raw material value of those pills. The notes landed precisely in Dang Rusong's hand as your voice carried from the horizon. I, Shangguan Gosheng, have lived with clean hands and never owe anyone anything. Clutching the silver notes, Dang Rusong watched your distant figure with mixed emotions. After a long while, he murmured, this only covers material costs, no processing fees included, Mr. Clean Hands. After cautiously circling several times, you finally returned to your manor. Today had given you full appreciation of the Nuwa Opera mask's power, and this was just the first mask, with 2 even more powerful ones remaining. You resolved to accelerate your Earth Source collection. Your current strength now allowed you to gather more sources. 2 days later, you departed He Manor. Using Shangguan Gosheng's identity and appearance, you began traveling through several prefectures near Liuzhou. You visited 6 ultimate grandmasters with strong Earth affinity nearby who could detect approximate times and locations of Earth source appearances. Some belonged to the 5 great sects, while others led independent sects across different factions. You made it clear you wanted to be the first to purchase information about Earth source appearances. This was common practice among ultimate grandmasters. Higher prices bought earlier alerts. To demonstrate your capability, you gifted each a 7th grade pill. But one ultimate grandmaster proved uncooperative, so you made sure he properly understood your strength. Bruised and battered, he happily accepted your gift and even wished you a happy new year. When you pointed out the new year had long passed, he cheerfully offered belated greetings wishing you happiness in your twilight years. Being polite, you returned the favor by wishing him longevity until death. Through these 6 contacts, you learned each could only scan limited areas. The strongest among them was Qi Xian, a pure young sect elder from the 5 great sects, capable of covering nearly an entire prefecture. Great Qian had 48. Others could only scan a dozen or few counties at most. Thus scattered Earth sources rarely attracted many competing grandmasters, unless appearing in concentrations like at Yajianku. Now you arrived at the pure young sect. In their premium reception room, Qi Xian poured you tea. Brother Shangguan seems unfamiliar, a recent addition to our ultimate ranks? Playing Shangguan Gosheng's bold persona, you laughed heartily. Ha ha. Indeed, I only stumbled into this rank half a year ago. With such generosity, Brother Shangguan must hail from a prominent sect? Qi Xian inquired. Your laughter boomed. Just a minor sect with only one ultimate, myself. Brother Shangguan needn't be guarded. I merely wish to know how to contact you with Earth source information. After brief consideration, you replied, Brother Qi Xian, just send messages to the Palace of 10,000 Dreams in Maosen County, Liuzhou. Palace of 10,000 Dreams? Qi Xian looked puzzled. Forgive my ignorance, I've never heard of it. No wonder, you'd just invented it moments ago. But by day's end, you'd officially register it for message deliveries. After more small talk, you departed for Mausen County, where recent conflicts over Nua Opera Mask's Earth source had occurred. There you found a sect undergoing bankruptcy liquidation. Many assumed running sects was profitable, but failures outnumbered successes. The sect's most valuable asset was its 100-acre mountain property now being fire-sold. You acquired it dirt cheap, complete with ready-built halls, plaza, and facilities, move-in ready. Commissioning a grand gilded plaque inscribed with vigorous Palace of 10,000 Dreams calligraphy, you replaced the old sign. The golden characters shimmered brilliantly under sunlight, revitalizing the entire compound. Your palace had successfully reverse-merged into this shell corporation. It would serve as your second base for Earth source intelligence and enriching Shangguan Goshing's backstory. Thus you officially became the palace's palace master. 1 month later, you brought 3 new recruits to the palace. These rare talents, all victims of persecution who'd faced mortal danger, were hard to find. Take Sang-yi, marrow-washing late-stage cultivator. He'd had a beautiful wife stolen by a young master from a powerful family. After arduous training, Sang-yi rescued her, only for her to declare affection for the young master, begging Sang-yi to leave lest the master misunderstand. As Sang-yi's heart shattered in despair, the young master arrived with experts, not to kill him. "I only fancy married women," the master explained. "If you die, the flavor's ruined." He instructed Sang-yi to take his wife home peacefully, promising only monthly secret visits, 3 to 5 times maximum, with assurances Sang-yi would never notice. When the wife coquettishly scolded the master for being such a naughty playboy, Sang-yi, feeling out of place for not being perverse enough, saw red and attacked in rage. Sang-yi was no match for those experts and nearly got beaten to death on the spot. At the critical moment, you descended like a divine savior using your Shangguan Goshing identity to rescue Sang-yi. And let Sang-yi personally kill that young master and his own wife. Sang-yi was so grateful to you he practically wanted to enshrine you as a deity. Aside from Sang-yi, the other 2 among the trio also had equally explosive stories, which we won't elaborate on one by one. You settled the 3 in the Palace of 10,000 Dreams and provided them cultivation resources. Their job was similar to a receptionist security guard, just receiving and safeguarding Earth source information until your periodic collection. After arranging everything, you returned to Yutong County to continue cultivation. 5th year. You completed the 4th source power condensation of the 9 condensations profound skill. Your combat ranking on Great Qian's Ultimate Grandmaster list rose by 1 or 2 positions. Moreover, during this cultivation session, you sensed the bottleneck to mid-dragon transformation stage. Dragon transformation was already a high-level realm for martial artists, yet you saw hope for further advancement within just a few years. Your martial talent was reaching terrifying levels. After completing the 4th condensation, you focused on advancing your 9th grade pill refining arts. You got up from the cultivation chamber and walked to the adjacent pill refining room. Though the 2 rooms weren't that different, you could refine pills without changing rooms. You still preferred keeping activities separate. Taking out the peace token, you began refining 9th grade pills. 9th grade pill refinement was several levels more difficult. After a month, you still hadn't made any progress. Though the peace token helped identify shortcomings, knowing mistakes and correcting them were 2 different matters. You realized recognizing and correcting mistakes wasn't just moral excellence, but also reflected exceptional execution. After resting for a day, you went to Danxia sect to find Xia Huida. You and Xia Huida leisurely drank tea in his courtyard. Presently, Xia Huida was living joyfully every day, with even his long-stagnant peak essence refining cultivation showing signs of loosening. You sincerely rejoiced for him, old Xia. With your current state, 9th grade is within reach. Ha ha, brother I appreciate your auspicious words. Just then a disciple rushed in. 7th elder, the sect leader summons you. Xia Huida asked, did the sect leader say what it's about? The disciple glanced subtly at you before whispering in Xia Huida's ear, Elder Hu Zhangshuan has returned. Xia Huida sprang up instantly and sprinted toward Deng Rusing's courtyard. You quickly set down your teacup and followed earnestly behind Xia Huida, afraid of missing out on the drama. After a few steps, Xia Huida felt something amiss, turning to ask, "Brother He, you're coming too?" You laughed heartily. Together. Xia Huida pondered briefly before nodding vigorously. Together. Soon you arrived near Deng Rusing's courtyard. Hu Zhangshuan was already seated inside. Though conversing with Deng Rusong, he was clearly distracted, responding absent-mindedly. The usually composed and solemn Hu Zhangshuan now appeared restless and agitated. At the slightest sound outside the courtyard, Hu Zhangshuan would immediately look up expectantly. Deng Rusing smiled. "Zhangshuan, I've already sent someone to notify Wanshu. There's no need for such nervousness." Hu Zhangshuan nodded perfunctorily. Then rapid footsteps sounded from outside, growing increasingly closer. Each step seemed to tread directly on Hu Zhangshuan's heart. Hu Zhangshuan stood abruptly to greet the arrival. His face alight with excitement, he eagerly looked outside the gate. The next instant, Hu Zhangshuan's joyful expression vanished completely. Instead of his long-yearned junior martial sister, Hu Zhangshuan saw only Yu and Xia Huida, two annoyingly grinning figures. Hu Zhangshuan turned heel and retreated into the courtyard. Xia Huida's face instantly twisted with triumphant mockery. His voice dripped with sarcasm. Well, if it isn't the grand martial arts master returning." The tone made you pause, eerily reminiscent of your own speaking style. Hu Zhangshuan turned his back, refusing to look at Xia Huida. But Xia Huida deliberately positioned himself before Hu Zhangshuan. "Grandmaster, what brings you back?" Hu Zhangshuan clicked his tongue and turned away again. Xia Huida persisted relentlessly. "Grandmaster, you must have reached Ultimate Grandmaster by now." Hu Zhangshuan turned once more. Xia Huida pursued. "No, wait. Surely you've surpassed Ultimate Grandmaster. That's why you returned to awaken Wanshu, isn't it?" Hu Zhangshuan kept turning helplessly while Xia Huida circled him mockingly. The two engaged in a comedic dance. Until Deng Rusong could bear no more. He interjected, "Enough, Huida. These years Zhangshuan has used his military connections and personal cultivation to greatly facilitate our pill refining material collection. Cease your taunts." Xia Huida knew Deng Rusong spoke truth, reluctantly ending his assault. Hu Zhangshuan turned silently, "Noticing you by chance." His expression sobered as he asked, "And this is?" You nearly blurted out you were here for the drama, but Deng Rusing introduced first. "This is young Master Hiyu, who provided us the reviving yang pills." Hu Zhangshuan's furrowed brows immediately smoothed, his scrutinizing gaze transforming into gratitude. He strode over, about to express thanks. Just then, an elated voice called, "Third brother." Hu Zhangshuan froze as if thunderstruck. Though decades had passed since last hearing it, Hu Zhangshuan would always recognize that voice. Looking up slowly, he saw the lively junior martial sister of his memories standing gracefully nearby. The breeze played with her hair as Deng Wanshu appeared vividly real. In Hu Zhangshuan's eyes, Deng Wanshu became the sole dancer on stage, all spotlights focused on her. Wanshu. This single utterance released years of pent-up emotions. He teleported before Deng Wanshu, reaching out a trembling hand to touch her cheek. The soft, real contact made Hu Zhangshuan's heart tremble before surging with boundless joy. But this joy was interrupted by another hand reaching over. Xia Huida grabbed Hu Zhangshuan's wrist, prying it away. "That's quite enough." Hu Zhangshuan knew he'd lost composure, slightly restraining himself while keeping his gaze locked on Deng Wanshu. Deng Wanshu beamed, looking between Hu Zhangshuan and Xia Huida. "Third brother, we'll hold a banquet tonight to welcome you back." Hu Zhangshuan's eyes brightened. "Wonderful." That evening, Don Xiasek's four powerhouses gathered, toasting merrily. Of course, you attended as special guest of honor. The four frequently toasted you in gratitude. Seeing their raised cups and thankful smiles, it resembled a heartwarming movie's happy ending. But you knew the trio's affections would eventually entangle, uncertain which path they'd take. You could only toast. May your bonds remain beautifully complicated. Tilting your head back, you downed the cup. The revelry lasted late into the night until lamps dimmed and guests departed, leaving you to return alone. Next morning, you awoke early as usual and completed morning training. Your bottleneck from early to mid-dragon transformation was on the verge of breaking. Overjoyed, you cultivated continuously for 5 days. The bottleneck remained on the verge. Persisting another 7 days, practically a national holiday's length, the bottleneck stubbornly persisted. You realized this was a so near yet so far situation. Abandoning forced cultivation, you left He Manor. You headed to Palace of 10,000 Dreams to check for new Earth Source intelligence. Ideally news of Qian Metal Nature Earth Source. Obtaining another Qian Metal Nature Earth Source would effortlessly make you invincible. And according to previous simulations, no celestial enemies should appear during this period. You'd become Great Qian's one true deity. First, I'll kill Lian Long once to prevent any ancestral surprises, avoiding real-world mishaps. Amidst these thoughts, Palace of 10,000 Dreams came into distant view. You quickly arrived at the Palace of 10,000 Dreams, gently landing before the mountain gate. Today it was Seng Yi's turn to guard the entrance. He hurried forward respectfully, Palace Master. Hearing him address you as Palace Master always made you feel like you had an emperor for a father. You got straight to the point. Any letters delivered? Seng Yi flipped open his sleeve and produced 2 letters. Palace Master, 2 people delivered these letters one after another 2 days ago. Your eyes lit up. You had expected it would take longer to receive news, yet here were results so soon. Taking the letters, you saw one was from Qi Xian of the Pure Young sect, the other from another ultimate grandmaster with Earth affinity. Nodding, you were about to fly directly to the main hall when you noticed Seng Yi looking at you strangely, his expression conflicted and hesitant. Frowning, you spoke in a low voice. I'll only warn you once. Put that ass away and face me properly when speaking. Seng Yi trembled in fear and turned around. Palace Master, wasn't this why you saved us? What the hell have you idiots been imagining these past few days? It turned out when Seng Yi went to rescue his reconciled wife, he expected to die on the spot. Yet you, an ultimate grandmaster with no prior connection, had saved him for no apparent reason. Having nothing to his name but a worthless life, Seng Yi couldn't understand your motives. After comparing notes with the other 2 rescued men, they realized all 3 shared similar backgrounds, complete losers with nothing to lose. Their imaginations ran wild. Finally, the 200-pound roughneck Zhao Wunian spoke up. Seems the Palace Master wants our bodies. Seng Yi froze, glancing at Zhao Wunian's thick chest hair fluttering in the wind. You really think so? Zhao Wunian scratched his head. Worth a try. Ultimate grandmasters have weird tastes sometimes. Somehow this made sense to Seng Yi and the 3rd man, leading to Seng Yi's current attempt. After hearing this explanation, your gaze turned icy. Keep up this nonsense and I'll personally deliver you back to your enemies. Without another word, you flew toward the main hall. Shortly after you left, Zhao Wunian came running to the gate. See? I told you the Palace Master wasn't into your type. Seng Yi nodded solemnly in agreement. In the main hall, you opened and read both letters. Though from different ultimate grandmasters, their contents were similar. An Earth source would appear near a small island in the Eastern Sea in 1 month. Calculating that the journey from Palace of 10,000 Dreams would take about 7 days, you decided to stay and use the 20 days remaining to attempt breaking through to mid-stage dragon transformation. Success would propel your combat strength into the Great Qian Empire's top 5, giving you better odds at securing the Earth source. Your palace stood on Flower Fruit Mountain, a name you chose because owning the entire mountain meant naming rights, where you began cultivating in a mountaintop villa. Though sometimes at midnight, you worried about copyright issues. 12 days passed in a flash. During cultivation, you suddenly stopped energy circulation. Rising slowly, your aura exploded outward like thunder across the mountain peak as your formidable source power resonated intensely. You had successfully broken through to mid-stage Ultimate Grandmaster Dragon Transformation. Your combat strength now ranked alongside elite Ultimate Grandmasters like Lin Jingji and Lian Long. In celebration, you circled Flower Fruit Mountain twice. Beyond the breakthrough, You were thrilled to have comprehended another Nua opera mask. This second mask allowed perfect concealment, undetectable by even ultimate grandmasters unless physically seen. Now you could safely play the lurking predator. Your comprehension speed with the masks was astonishing. You couldn't understand why someone so upright excelled at these sneaky Earth Source techniques. Must be because I'm a genius, you declared confidently. With 7-8 days remaining before departure, you attempted introductory 9-star pill refining. By the 17th evening, despite no real progress, you understood why only those with divine microvision could become 9-star refiners. The precision required surpassed normal vision, needing microscopic-level perception like viewing through a microscope. Since becoming an ultimate grandmaster, your divine microvision lasted longer with shorter recovery periods, surpassing mastery to reach unprecedented levels. You realized its strength correlated with mental state and began compiling methods to enhance it into a manual titled Mind Evolution Art, still incomplete but improving. Accepting no imminent breakthrough in pill refining, you decided to leave 3 days early. Before departing, you summoned Sangyi's trio, instructing them to guard the palace and cultivate properly. No more 3 moonlit hunks nonsense. Understanding your meaning, they promptly stopped sticking their butts out. You couldn't stand the sight of these idiots another second. You should have let their enemies finish them off, maybe even helped if this were now. Leaving Wanji Palace, no, Palace of 10,000 Dreams, the trio waved goodbye from the mountaintop as you flew eastward at near escape velocity. After 6 days of furious flying, you entered eastern sea waters. Endless blue stretched to the horizon where sea met sky, inspiring poetic urges. Colorful clouds and wild ducks fly together. Autumn waters share heaven's hue. Floating proudly, you marveled at your literary genius. If talent were grain, I'd own 8 measures while all scholars owe me 12,000. Suddenly, intense source power fluctuations ahead snapped you from self-admiration. Shit. They're already fighting. You sensed intense fluctuations high in the sky, quickly activating the aura of the Nua opera mask to conceal yourself, then directly ascending into the air. You found a pure white, soft cloud to hide within. Looking down into the sky below, you saw a large monk and a gray-robed man exchanging blows, fighting fiercely with great enthusiasm. That large monk was still an acquaintance of yours, Master Mingjue. The gray-robed man surprisingly had an earth source bowl hanging at his waist, indicating he had already collected that earth source. You secretly felt relieved to have departed 3 days early and to have flown all the way at limited speed. Otherwise, you definitely would have missed this earth source. You understood that Qi Xian and the others had large timing errors estimating when the earth source would appear. You decided that in the future, whenever you search for earth source, you would leave at least half a month in advance. Otherwise, if you are outmatched and cannot snatch the earth source, you accept defeat and try again next time. But if you come too late and miss the earth source, then your thoughts would be blocked and your plans ruined. What struck you as especially strange on the battlefield was that besides the gray-robed man and Master Mingjue, there were also 3 huge emberhawks circling around them. The 3 emberhawks spread their wings wide, each reaching a wingspan of 6 to 7 meters. They continuously let out sharp howls, generating shockwaves that interfered with Master Mingjue's mental clarity. Yurzu also had emberhawks, but compared to these 3, your emberhawks were nothing more than chicks. You were very puzzled. Your emberhawks usually ate 5th-grade blood essence pills, so how could there be such a huge difference between them and the gray-robed man's 3? Could it be that his emberhawks were drugged? You wondered. You furrowed your brows and thought it over, but still felt something was off. Because even though your emberhawks ate 5th-grade pills, they were still far behind. No matter what drugs the gray-robed man's 3 emberhawks took, even if it was a number 5 compound, they couldn't reach this level. There must be a secret formula, you calculated, planning to steal it from him. You focused again on the battlefield below. It was clear that Master Mingjue held the upper hand. A brass meditation staff in his hand shone with golden light, forcing the gray-robed man to retreat repeatedly. The 3 emberhawks couldn't participate in the battle against an ultimate grandmaster, so they could only circle anxiously. Master Mingjue chuckled. Devotee Kong Ling, you still refuse to hand over the Earth Source? I will show no mercy. Kong Ling's expression turned grave as he said sternly, Master Mingjue, you are a monk of Vajra Temple, yet you fight over Earth Source for a concubine. Is this how you practice Buddhism? Ha ha, Devotee Kong Ling does not cultivate Buddhism and does not understand its mysteries. If you are willing to become a monk, I will personally teach you the supreme technique. Kong Ling retorted with a burst of scolding. The two exchanged words continuously, arguing back and forth. You gradually understood that Master Mingjue had recently taken a concubine. The concubine was stunningly beautiful. Master Mingjue wished he could keep her tied to his waistband every day. But ordinary people always aged quickly, and his delicate concubine refused to endure the hardships of martial cultivation to delay her aging. So Master Mingjue thought to find an earth source to refine an 8th-grade delay aging pill to significantly slow his concubine's facial aging. From Kong Ling's perspective, Master Mingjue's use of earth source in this way was sheer wastefulness, so he naturally refused to give it up no matter what. Anyway, Kong Ling knew Master Mingjue wouldn't go all out, so the two remained at a stalemate. After hearing their conversation, you felt that Master Mingjue's behavior was unlike someone from Vajra Temple. He seemed more like a transfer student from the Joyful Zen sect. Master Mingjue sure knows how to play, openly taking a concubine. He must have asked Buddha for permission, and Buddha gave him the thumbs up. Master Mingjue and Kong Ling fought for quite a while below, and Master Mingjue gradually lost patience. Devotee Kong Ling, since you don't know when to quit, I will eliminate you on Buddha's behalf. Master Mingjue retracted his meditation staff and formed a palm seal with his right hand. The golden palm seal rapidly expanded to dozens of meters high, shining with golden light, and forcefully struck toward Kong Ling. Kong Ling's face tightened instantly, a wave of despair pressing down on his heart. Source power surged wildly on his twin crescent moon blades, which he swung continuously, but it was ineffective. The massive palm seal steadily advanced. Just as it was about to hit Kong Ling, he suddenly shouted, All right. I surrender. Master Mingjue smiled faintly, and the golden palm seal abruptly dissipated. Devotee Kong Ling, if you were any later, I would not have been able to hold back. Kong Ling looked very resentful and reluctantly tossed the earth source bowl to Master Mingjue. Master Mingjue laughed heartily, swirling source power in his hand, causing the earth source bowl to fly rapidly toward him. But just as the earth source bowl was about to reach him, Master Mingjue suddenly lost control over it. He was terrified, shouting, Who? At the same time, he rushed forward, trying to grab the earth source bowl with his hand. Clang! A sharp blade light flashed, shocking Master Mingjue's heart. He immediately halted his movement and withdrew his right hand. He looked up and saw that you had already appeared where the earth source bowl was moments ago, playing with the exquisite earth source bowl in your hand. You briefly sensed the earth source within it. You grinned, another earth source in hand. Mingjue was furious and shouted, Who are you? You showed no hesitation, Palace Lord of the Palace of 10,000 Dreams, Shangguan Gosheng. Mingjue was filled with terror, Palace of 10,000 Dreams? Exactly. Never heard of it. Damn it. Take this. You suddenly slashed. Mingjue's eyes grew serious as he suddenly summoned a radiant, flowing golden bell to defend himself. Clang! A thunderous explosion rang out. Master Mingjue's golden bell shattered on the spot, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, barely maintaining his stance. Mingjue's gaze toward you instantly turned solemn, no longer showing even a trace of the mocking attitude he had toward Kong Ling. He didn't even have time to wipe the blood from his mouth and waved his hands repeatedly in plea, Devotee Shangguan. You already have the earth source. Please show mercy. You smiled slightly, Scram. Mingjue dared not linger and turned to leave. Just as he was about to disappear on the horizon, his unwilling warning echoed from afar, Amitba. Shangguan Gosheng, I will remember you. You coldly smiled, indifferent to Mingjue's threat. You turned to look at Kong Ling in the distance. Kong Ling's eyes flickered, quickly cupping his hands. Brother Shangguan, I take my leave as well. Master Mingjue couldn't even withstand your blade. Kong Ling was no match. Kong Ling turned and was about to fly away. You shouted, Brother Kong, please wait. Kong Ling's figure halted, slowly turning, with a bitter smile. Brother Shangguan, I am not on the same path as that evil monk Mingjue. I know you two are not on the same side. You pointed at the 3 Emberhawks in the sky. I just want to say this thing has a connection with me. Brother Shangguan, these are Emberhawks that our beast-taming sect has raised for many years. Kong Ling emphasized the words beast-taming sect, hinting at his background. You looked serious. You're from the beast-taming sect? Kong Ling's expression relaxed slightly. I am indeed an elder of the beast-taming sect. Your eyes lit up. Good. Besides the 3 Emberhawks, copy me the secret training formula for raising them as well. Kong Ling's face instantly turned sour. Brother Shangguan, isn't this bad? You stiffened your aura. Have you ever seen a fist as big as a sandbag? Kong Ling looked helpless. Brother Shangguan, it's not that I'm withholding the breeding secret formula. It's just that due to special reasons, I really can't give it to you. You lifted your chin. Let me hear how you're going to twist this. Brother Shangguan, our beast-taming sect indeed has more than one method to breed beasts, but no matter which method, it must be done within the beast-taming sect for it to be effective. You thought for a moment. So Kong Brother means your beast-taming sect is a feng shui treasure land, where small animals only thrive and grow strong when they are within your beast-taming sect's territory? Exactly. You asked again. Is the sect leader of your beast-taming sect a top ultimate grandmaster? Kong Ling regained some confidence. Yes, he is. You rubbed your chin thoughtfully. If it really was a feng shui issue for the beast-taming sect, then you could only put the little animals in the beast-taming sect to raise. But the beast-taming sect might not agree to your cloud breeding request, since this is the foundation of their sect, and they wouldn't easily let other sects get involved. If they don't agree. You muttered thoughtfully to yourself, there are 11 ultimate grandmasters in total, 1 top ultimate grandmaster, 10 ordinary ultimate grandmasters. It should be possible to eliminate them all. Brother Shangguan? Kong Ling's pupils contracted sharply. Brother Shangguan, are you still there? You snapped back to reality. I'm here. What's up? Kong Ling looked terrified. Brother Shangguan, you weren't speaking human language just now. You looked at the shocked Kong Ling. I just want you guys to help me raise some little animals, but I'm afraid you won't agree. Agree. We all agree. We even have a quite comprehensive foster service, guaranteed satisfaction. You finally brightened up. That's what I want to hear? That's what I'm saying. Kong Ling nodded rapidly, like a pestle pounding rice. Kong Ling didn't know if you could single-handedly break through the entire beast-taming sect, but he knew that if you wanted to kill him now, it would be effortless. Even a top ultimate grandmaster like Monkju had been scared away by your single strike. Kong Ling believed you must be an unparalleled ultimate grandmaster. But strangely, there were only a few unparalleled ultimate grandmasters, and Kong Ling had never seen you before, so he couldn't figure out your habits at all. So Kong Ling warned himself not to anger you, and agreed hastily for now, hoping everything else could be negotiated later. You looked at Kong Ling, who gave you a flattering smile. You couldn't verify the truth of Kong Ling's words because the truth-seeking pill has no effect on ultimate grandmasters. But you wouldn't go alone to the beast-taming sect to check either. Your strength was great, but not invincible in the whole realm. If the beast-taming sect had traps or tricks, you'd be doomed. It's best to be cautious. You looked up into the distance, then with a roll of your source power, you bound 5 ordinary little sea swallows to you. You placed them in front of Kong Ling. Help me raise these in the beast-taming sect for 1 year. I'll observe the effect and cover all the related costs. Kong Ling breathed a sigh of relief, seeing you weren't unreasonable and knew to settle the expenses. Brother Shangguan, of course, no problem. Kong Ling agreed eagerly. Then Brother Shangguan, I'll take my leave. Wait. You called out to stop Kong Ling from taking off. Kong Ling looked at you curiously. You chuckled. Brother Kong, you haven't given me the breeding secret formula you promised. Kong Ling's face turned helpless. Brother Shangguan, you still want the secret formula? I also like little animals, doing some academic research. Kong Ling felt like he had misjudged you. You were indeed a ruthless and unreasonable person. Helpless, Kong Ling took out 3 secret formulas for you. Brother Shangguan, can I leave now? You smiled again. Brother Kong, you're always forgetful. You still haven't given me the 3 Ember Hawks. Kong Ling confirmed with Sister Yangang that you were indeed unreasonable. You said earnestly, Brother Kong, don't look at me like that. I'm trading 5 sea swallows for your 3 Ember Hawks. You're making a huge profit. Kong Ling's face turned ashen. Brother Shangguan, I'd rather trade 100 sea swallows for 3 Ember Hawks. What kind of talk is that? Do you think I'd let you lose out? Kong Ling didn't even have the mood to curse silently. He just lowered his gaze and looked at you with resentment. Brother Kong, you've misunderstood. I'm just taking them back to raise and admire for a year. When the time's up, I'll return them. I absolutely won't let a single feather of the 3 treasures fall. Kong Ling raised his eyebrows and regained his spirit. Brother Shangguan, you really mean that? Absolutely. After a year, you bring the 5 sea swallows to the Palace of 10,000 Dreams, and I'll return the Ember Hawks intact. You placed a 7th grade healing pill in front of Kong Ling. This is my sincerity. You quietly calculated in your mind. The essence blood value of 3 Ember Hawks far exceeded this 7th grade pill. Kong Ling's expression brightened immediately, and he quickly took the pill. Brother Shangguan, you're generous. Kong Ling had expected you to forcibly snatch the Ember Hawks, but now you were basically letting the beast taming sect raise 3 Ember Hawks for free for a year. Plus, Kong Ling got a 7th grade pill for himself. He felt like he had gained big time. What Kong Ling didn't know is that he might gain, but you would never lose. This time you took the initiative. Brother Kong, you may go now. Until we meet again. Kong Ling was relieved and turned to fly away. Brother Shangguan, see you in a year. The 3 Ember Hawks wanted to follow Kong Ling right after he flew off. But with the roll of your source power in your hand, no matter how hard the 3 huge Ember Hawks flapped, they couldn't fly and just circled in place. The 3 Ember Hawks seemed to sense danger, fluttering desperately in the direction Kong Ling had flown. You laughed. Daddy doesn't want you anymore. The 3 Ember Hawks flapped even more wildly, almost able to talk in frustration. You didn't care, wrapping the Ember Hawks and heading towards the Palace of 10,000 Dreams. You had injected your source power mark into the 5 sea swallows you gave Kong Ling, so you weren't afraid he would switch them. While flying, you pondered whether the beast taming sect's territory really gave such a huge benefit to animals. Judging by Kong Ling's expression, it didn't seem like a lie. You also got the secret formulas and gave 5 sea swallows to Kong Ling for breeding, so you could do a controlled test. If the effect really only happens within the beast taming sect's territory, then this place must have something special. You also wondered whether the beast taming sect first developed its beast taming ability and then found this place to establish the sect, or if they found this feng shui treasure land first and then made beast taming their main business. You planned to ask next time. You figured that after you found and fused the 2nd dry metal affinity earth source, you'd go to the beast taming sect to see what's really going on. Thinking this, you looked at the earth source bowl in your hand. You lifted the cover and quickly stored the earth source inside your spatial pocket. Your consciousness entered the space. Your manifested consciousness became more solid and stable, which you guessed was due to progress in divine microvision. The hazy mist gradually dispersed, revealing the scenery inside. When you saw the earth source's form clearly, a huge smile broke out on your face. Haha, lucky. In the center of that earth source floated a perfectly proportioned, harmoniously shaped precious blade, radiating an overwhelming vast aura. You recognized the earth source immediately. Heavenly Mist Blade, dry metal affinity ranked 5th. You were overwhelmed with joy, never expecting to collect the target earth source so quickly. You didn't want to wait a moment longer and immediately began to comprehend the earth source. This comprehension brought you even greater surprise. Because the moment your consciousness touched the heavenly mist blade, it instantly accepted your aura and even trembled continuously, as if it was leaping with excitement. You grew excited too. To focus fully on comprehending the earth source, you stopped flying yourself. You flipped over and landed on the back of a fire emberhawk, guiding its direction with a small amount of source power. The fire emberhawk instinctively flapped its wings wildly. Normally obedient and well-behaved, it had never been ridden by outsiders before, so it was a little uncomfortable at first. Two streams of your source power shot out, instantly forming two large lumps on the fire Emberhawk's head. It immediately understood you were its new master and quickly calmed down. You were thus able to focus on comprehending the Earth source. 14 days later, you returned to the Palace of 10,000 Dreams. You mostly rode the fire Emberhawk back, so it was much slower than when you went. In these more than 10 days of comprehending the Earth source, you had gained some harvest. You figured out that the Heavenly Mist Blade could manifest a blade technique called the Life and Death Slash. This technique emphasized exerting full strength without reservation, exploding with all the power in your body. When this slash lands, it decides life or death. It was very suitable for a reckless player like you who was determined to go all out no matter what. You landed in the main hall of the Palace of 10,000 Dreams and summoned Sang-E and the other two. Their gazes toward you had become much more normal, but now carried endless fiery admiration. You felt something was off and asked, "Did you all somehow train your brains into muscles? What the hell kind of look is that you're giving me?" Sang-E quickly said, "Palace Lord, word has spread in the martial world that you are an unparalleled ultimate grandmaster, and you're at least ranked in the top 3. Who spread that?" "Master Mingjue from Vajra Temple, and this claim was confirmed by Elder Kong Ling from the Beast Taming Sect." You reclined in your chair, understanding the situation. That old bald monk Mingjue was trying to save face by inflating your strength infinitely, making himself look less weak. As for Kong Ling, he was probably just sweet-talking you, since praising was better than insulting. Your true combat power would place you around 3rd to 6th among the ultimate grandmasters. Anyway, they were all top-tier players of the same league, so the difference wasn't huge. What Mingjue and Kong Ling didn't know was that after you fully fused with the Heavenly Mist Blade, your strength would far exceed even their wildest imaginations. Sang-E and the other two stared fixedly at you. "Palace Lord, is it true? Are you really that strong?" You waved dismissively. "Don't listen to the nonsense in the martial world. I'm not that weak." The three were stunned instantly. "What la? You don't believe me? Want to spar one-on-one with me?" "Not at all, Palace Lord, we wouldn't dare." You crossed your legs. Since the old bald monk Mingjue had already blown you up, you might as well brag even bigger and play the role thoroughly. Besides, combat power had no concrete measurement standard like a running race where seconds mattered. If someone really challenged you, just say you've been sick lately, with palace cold, and need to recuperate. After a few years of recuperation, you'd finish fusing with the Heavenly Mist Blade. When someone dares to challenge you then, one slash would cut their medical insurance bill into arrears. One brag wasn't enough for you, so you made up a few more stories about yourself, making Sang-E and the others gasp repeatedly. After satisfying your bragging urge, you got down to business. You instructed Sang-E to find a blacksmith and forge 6 iron chains as thick as his waist to tie up 3 fire Emberhawks. You planned to keep the fire Emberhawks in the Palace of 10,000 Dreams, since bringing them back to the zoo might expose your identity. You also made Zhao Wunyan responsible for taking care of the 3 fire Emberhawks from now on, giving him some 2nd and 3rd grade nourishing pills enough to feed the hawks for a month. Since you needed to extract the hawk's essence blood, you had to supplement them a bit. The fire Emberhawks were too weak and might be noticed by Kong Ling. If Kong Ling noticed and wasn't tactful, you would be forced into killing, and you dreaded killing people. Amitba. After giving all instructions, you extracted the essence blood from the fire Emberhawks, and all 3 immediately wilted and lost their vigor. You obtained 3 drops of fire Emberhawk essence blood in total. Although all 3 drops came from the same species, you wanted to see if this quality of essence blood could have a stacking effect. You had suspected long ago that the reason the Garden Gate body technique required different types of essence blood was only because ordinary beast's essence blood wasn't strong enough. You believed that because ordinary essence blood's strengthening ability on the human body was weak, the 2nd drop of the same type might sense the area was already transformed by the predecessor, and due to its limited ability, it would give up and slack off. But if very strong essence blood merged into the body, it might think, "What? The arm is already fixed? Then I'll damn well fix your legs too." Holding this suspicion, you went to the villa atop Flower Fruit Mountain that same day. You completed the fusion of the 3 drops of Fire Emberhawk essence blood. Sitting cross-legged in the training room, your eyes shone with joy. All 3 drops of essence blood took effect and completed a stacked strengthening. Your extra physical strength rose from late bone tempering to early marrow washing stage. You laughed heartily, ha ha ha, awesome. Your guess was confirmed. As long as the essence blood itself was strong enough, it could repeatedly strengthen the body. Moreover, the strength of these 3 drops of essence blood exceeded your expectations. The beast taming sect is impressive. That's quite something. You planned that once you finished fusing with the heavenly mist blade, you would immediately visit the beast taming sect to better understand whether their territorial strength was really that extraordinary. You stood up and walked outside the villa, intending to return to Yutong County to enter seclusion and continue comprehending the Earth source. But the moment you activated your source power to take off, you suddenly felt as if something new had appeared inside you, a strange sensation. Your expression changed instantly, and you landed back on the ground. You carefully checked your entire body several times, but found nothing unusual. You activated your source power again, but the subtle feeling had vanished completely. Your brows furrowed as you thought of the 3 Fire Emberhawks. Are these birds poisonous? But then you realized that couldn't be. If they wanted to harm you this way, they would have had to know your hidden identity in advance, know you wanted to collect Earth source, know your departure time, know you were playing with animals, know you wanted the Fire Emberhawks, and cultivate poisonous Fire Emberhawks ahead of time. They would even have to mobilize 2 ultimate grandmasters to put on a show for you. That was too absurd and absolutely impossible. Anyone capable of that would have already crushed you with raw strength. So it can only be that there's something wrong with the beast taming sect. They raise such big birds, maybe someone spiked their well water with steroids. You checked your body a few more times, but still found nothing unusual. Your expression darkened and your gaze grew cold. You went straight to the place in the Palace of 10,000 Dreams where the 3 Fire Emberhawks were kept. You pulled over 1 Fire Emberhawk and forcefully probed its body with source power, allowing the surging energy to roam and stir recklessly inside. The massive Fire Emberhawk let out a pained shriek, but wrapped in your overwhelming source power, it couldn't move. After a long time, you stopped the examination. Still, you found nothing. You thought for a moment and decided not to wait any longer. You would go to the beast taming sect now. If even you, a proud ultimate grandmaster, couldn't find the hidden danger, you had to figure it out. If you brought this hidden danger back to the real world and it was inherited, everything would be over. You shot straight into the sky and sped rapidly toward the beast taming sect. The beast taming sect is located within the vast Xianming mountain range, which stretches thousands of miles, providing natural superior conditions for cultivating beasts for the sect. You sped northeastward and arrived at the Qianming mountain range after 17 days. Instead of heading straight to the beast taming sect, you wandered alone within the mountains for 5 days. During that time, you captured over 100 beasts and extracted their vital blood, inspecting it carefully multiple times. With your level 8 pill refiner skills and already advanced medical expertise, you found no issues. All the beast blood was perfectly normal. You refined all the vital blood, but unlike before, you did not refine it within your body. Instead, you refined it outside your body into a state ready for fusion. Still, no abnormalities were detected. Although you found no problems, you prudently chose not to fuse the blood and stored all the refined vital blood in your spatial pocket. You rubbed your chin and said, "It's very likely that the small animals in the beast taming sect are the ones having problems. But going directly to ask might not get you the truth." So, using the invisibility feature of the Nua Opera mask, you sneaked into the beast taming sect in the dead of night. You arrived at the largest breeding ground in the sect, your eyes glowing red like a ghostly apparition as you floated silently through it. In the blink of an eye, you extracted 31 drops of vital blood. You came and went like the wind, unseen and unheard. After leaving the beast taming sect, you found a resting spot in the Qianming Mountains and began refining the vital blood outside your body into a state ready for fusion. The first 20 drops refined without issue, but when refining the 21st, that strange sensation reappeared. You vaguely sensed that something was dispersing from that drop of vital blood, after which it became indistinguishable from ordinary vital blood. When you fuse the vital blood of 3 Emberhawks, you experience the same feeling. Some original substance in the vital blood was dispersing within your body. Your worry instantly lessened. Since something was dispersing, it wouldn't affect your physical body. You then refined the remaining 9 drops, and no abnormalities occurred again. You remembered that the drop which dispersed came from a very strong, fierce beast. You couldn't help but speculate that the stronger the vital blood, the more likely it is to have that dispersing sensation. You furrowed your brow and thought, could it be a problem with the Garden Gate body technique? Maybe the vital blood's quality exceeded the refining limit of the Garden Gate body technique, and the excess had to be discarded, which is why something seemed to dissipate? Or perhaps the vital blood's quality was too high, making the fusion process a bit unruly, so it struggled a little in the end. But no matter which was true, at least you were sure the beast taming sect wasn't deliberately doing anything. You were also sure that these vital blood drops weren't technologically enhanced or tampered with, so they had no negative effects on you. Still, these were just your guesses. Until you fully understood the situation, you didn't plan to fuse these vital blood drops. Those 31 fusion-ready drops were also stored in your spatial pocket. You planned to enclose an area within the Qianming mountain range and use the beast taming sect's secret beast taming manual to cultivate small animals. You would also use the same manual to cultivate small animals at the Yutong County Zoo. This way, with the beast taming sect, the Qianming mountain range, and the zoo as 3 different control locations, you could verify under what conditions the vital blood became so potent. During your refining, you noticed these vital blood drops were not as high quality as the 3 Emberhawks' vital blood. You silently smiled and thought, looks like those 3 Emberhawks are rare treasures even in the beast taming sect. No wonder Kong Ling looks so heartbroken. You immediately planned to leave the Qianming Mountains, but then you remembered the many fierce beasts within the sect and their enticing vital blood. Though these beasts were not as high quality as the 3 Emberhawks, their sheer numbers made up for it. Even if you didn't fuse them now, they could exist in your spatial pocket, waiting to be fused once you figured things out. But these beasts are after all raised by the beast taming sect. Doing this feels unethical. You looked conflicted, troubled for exactly 0.1 seconds. In the end, you decided to follow your profession's motto, thieves never walk away empty-handed. Just one last time, I'll take the last batch and then I'll quit starting tomorrow. You immediately touched down at various breeding grounds in the beast taming sect and flickered through them, gathering 416 drops of vital blood. Of course, this number was not the limit of all beasts in the sect. These were carefully selected drops. Since getting a taste of the Emberhawks' refined vital blood, you had become somewhat picky. Actually, with your strength, you could have forced the beast taming sect to willingly give you these treasures. But that would risk exposing your cultivation of the Garden Gate body technique and revealing your identity as you. Another minor reason was that you found sneaking around like this too thrilling. After extracting the vital blood, you left the beast taming sect without a sound. At dawn, an ordinary disciple of the sect yawned and started his daily beast training. When he summoned his cold shadow leopard, he found it dull-eyed and listless, as if it had been tormented by its mother for 3 days straight. The disciple quickly used True Qi to investigate and discovered the leopard's internal qi and blood were severely depleted and decayed. He was shocked and about to ask others when everyone around suddenly howled towards the sky, "Who the hell did this?" By then, you were already on your way back to Yutong County. 3 days ago, you had finished refining all 416 drops of vital blood, which you also stored in your spatial pocket. Other people's little beasts sure are fun to siphon from. You felt a thrill like finding free money. During refining, that dispersing sensation appeared 14 more times. You completely confirmed that the stronger the fierce beast, the more likely this sensation would occur. You called this phenomenon potent beast blood. You planned to wait a few years for the beast taming sect to rehabilitate the batch of beasts you had drawn from before coming back for another harvest. The next time, the brothers in the beast taming sect should agree, since they tacitly accepted it this time. Feeling good, you hummed a little tune as you returned to your He Manor in Yutong County. Old Wang hadn't seen you for a month or two and rushed out anxiously when he saw you. "Young master, you're finally back." Old Wang, your emotions are strong this time, but overly eager with too little joy. Improve next time. Not young master, this time it's serious. You raised an eyebrow, what's wrong? The He siblings helping you manage the zoo want to quit. I left you enough silver before I left. How can you run out of monthly wages so quickly? No, young master, I paid their wages as usual. It's the He siblings who had a conflict with Dong Jijia. Tell me about it. As Old Wang explained, you understood that Dong Jijia acted like an evil creature specialist, conducting crazy experiments in the zoo and creating many strange and disgusting things. The two siblings were heartbroken watching their carefully cared for animals being ruthlessly harmed by Dong Jijia. But Dong Jijia was following your orders to create new species for you. The He siblings knew they were just working for you and had no right to complain, so they had reluctantly endured for over a year. Until recently, they couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to resign, but you weren't around. Being honest, they didn't run off home immediately but continued to care for the animals, waiting for your return to discuss quitting. In recent days, the siblings had some conflicts with Dong Jijia, nearly coming to blows. That was why Old Wang hurried to tell you about the matter. You nodded, all right, I understand. You headed straight to the zoo. You found that the He siblings were indeed responsible, not just quitting outright but waiting for you to return. You thought to yourself, perfect. I can rest assured sending them out. Also, you were curious about what Dong Jijia had been creating that made the He siblings willing to give up high salaries and run away. You quickly arrived at the zoo. The He siblings saw you and felt a huge relief, hurriedly coming over to discuss their resignation. You told them to wait a moment first. Then you went to the tall laboratory specially built for Dong Jijia. The He siblings did not follow. You pushed open the door and entered the lab. Dong Jijia didn't even look up and continued working. If you don't like what I do, you can leave. Don't bother me. Who will provide you with experimental resources if I leave? Dong Jijia was stunned, then looked up excitedly. Young Master He. You're back. I came to check your experimental results. Dong Jijia laughed heartily. Good, good. I wanted to show young Master He anyway. Please come this way. Dong Jijia led you to a larger room deeper inside. As the door opened, all kinds of creatures came into view. Young Master He, look, this is a two-headed horse, one head in front, one in back. You frowned. When it runs, does it run forward or backward? Sideways. Dong Jijia answered cheerfully. You looked at the two-headed horse again. In fact, a horse's rear end had been grafted with a head. You asked, without a rear end, how does it defecate? It spits it out of the mouth on the rear head. Dong Jijia said excitedly. Your pupils shrank. You gave Dong Jijia a thumbs up. Damn, you really are something. Nothing can stop you. Dong Jijia got even more excited after your praise. Young Master He, and this one here is a mermaid. You saw a huge water tank with a big blue fish swimming inside, estimated to weigh over 100 jin, about 110 pounds. You asked, isn't this just an ordinary big blue fish? Where's the mermaid part? Dong Jijia immediately jumped into the tank with a splash, scooped up the mermaid, and held it in his hands. Young Master He, look. Your eyes twitched as you saw the mermaid's upper body was fish, but the lower half was a human waist and legs, struggling fiercely. It turned out the mermaid's legs were paddling underwater. You had only seen the fish head before and missed the lower half. You didn't know what to say, so you muttered nonsense. All right, fine, you're still a pragmatist. Dong Jijia even explained proactively. Young Master He, I bought the human torso from the execution ground, very fresh. You shook your head. No need to explain so thoroughly. Dong Jijia grew more and more excited. Young Master He, there's this too. He led over a camel with a lizard lying on its back. Dong Jijia quickly said, the excrement of the five-colored camel contains nutrients essential for the scaled lizard, so I sewed the lizard's mouth onto the five-colored camels. Enough. Stop sewing. You hurriedly interrupted Dong Jijia. I'm going out to get some fresh air. You walked out of the laboratory with a solemn expression. You went to the He siblings, patted both of their shoulders, and sighed deeply. These past 2 years, you've worked hard. The two siblings immediately had tears in their eyes. Finally, someone understood their pain. You also finally understood why they gave up high salaries just to escape. What Dong Jijie created was too disgusting. If Dong Jijie were back in your hometown, he would definitely be charged with crimes against humanity. At this moment, Dong Jijie happily ran out. Young master he, feeling better now? I still have many things to show you. No need to show me anything else, you've already won. Dong Jijie's creations were just too ruthless, and you were a bit overwhelmed. Now you understood that the powerful vital blood from beasts could stack, so there was no need to focus on the number of species, just the quality. You told Dong Jijie not to create these anti-human things anymore, at least not in your zoo. Although Dong Jijie didn't fully understand, he agreed and promised not to do such things in front of you. You asked Dong Jijie to accompany you to the Qianming mountain range later to raise small animals using the beast taming sect's secret beast taming manual. You instructed him to stay in the mountain range for at least 3 to 5 years. Dong Jijie agreed immediately. He originally was from the beast taming sect and was very familiar with the Qianming mountain range. Besides, Dong Jijie was a lonely old bachelor. He could stay anywhere. If he got bored in the mountains, he could at least interact with the mermaid. Dong Jijie was very happy to receive the beast taming manual, which he couldn't get before as an ordinary disciple. He held the manual lovingly, itching to dive into the Qianming mountain range and play happily with the animals right away. The He siblings were left at the zoo to also raise small animals using the beast taming manual. The two siblings were very happy to live a normal life again and wouldn't have to see those disgusting things anymore. They felt psychologically traumatized and really needed to see a psychologist for counseling. After arranging these matters, you returned to your manor. This time, you plan to close yourself off completely to finish comprehending the heavenly mist blade. As soon as you entered, Old Wang told you that Guolan from the Danxia sect had been waiting for you for a while. You were a little puzzled. What is he here for again? You walked straight into the reception room, and Guolan politely stood up. You walked over and sat down. Sit down. Haven't seen you for years. Where have you been making money recently? Guolan forced a weak smile. Young master I have already quit the Danxia sect and am going home. You tilted your head. No need to be so euphemistic. Tell me how you got expelled. Young master I really quit voluntarily. You took a sip of tea from Old Wang. Go on. Guolan hesitated. I feel the Danxia sect isn't suitable for me to refine pills. The Danxia sect isn't suitable for your pill refining? You raised an eyebrow and looked at him. Then do you think the Blood Demon sect or the Joyful Zen sect is suitable for you? Guolan heard your sarcasm, but wasn't angry. He sighed. I just think I'm not cut out for pill refining. I haven't made any progress in 3 years. You paused for a moment. It's fine if you go home. You can't stay in a bustling international metropolis like Yutong County. Yutong County doesn't believe in tears. Guolan just looked at you without saying anything. You continued. After going back home, you have a first-grade pill refining technique. You can be a barefoot doctor, treating headaches and colds, earning some money, marrying a big plump wife, and having a chubby little son. That's not bad. Guolan was silent for a long time after hearing you. Finally, he stood up. Young master then I'll take my leave. You smiled. See you again someday. Guolan left the manor directly. You stood for a moment, shook your head, and went to the cultivation room. You knew Guolan wasn't just here to say goodbye. He actually wanted to play the pity card and ask about your ancestral pill book. But seeing you gave him no chance, he had no choice but to give up. You entered the cultivation room, calmed your mind, and began comprehending the heavenly mist blade. When a person's spirit focuses, time passes quickly. The 6th year. While cultivating, you suddenly opened your eyes. Although you opened your eyes with great momentum, it didn't help much. You still hadn't fully comprehended the life and death slash. Fortunately, you made great progress. You estimated that in about half a year, you would completely understand and fuse the heavenly mist blade's earth source. Your rapid progress was mainly because you had already fused the earth source of dry metal affinity, so like attracts like. Secondly, you were naturally adept at blade techniques, so comprehending the blade art felt effortless. After a year of cultivation, you needed to balance work and rest, otherwise, mental fatigue would slow your comprehension speed. You went to the Danxia sect. You wanted to see who won between Xia Huida and Hu Zhongshuan. You hadn't been keeping up with the gossip for over a year and desperately needed updates. Also, during the last simulation year, Jiao Mingxiu and Bai Chen had joined Xia Huida's discipleship. You planned to meet these two unfamiliar brothers as well. You quickly arrived at the Danxia sect. Now that you entered Danxia sect, the guards at the gate no longer stopped you. They all knew you were the savior of the sect leader's sister and the love remedy for the seventh elder. With great anticipation, you went to Xia Huida's courtyard, but unfortunately, you only saw Xia Huida and Deng Huashu. Hu Zhongshuan was nowhere to be found. What was even more disappointing was that Xia Huida had neither lost an arm nor a leg, nor did his face show any signs of battle scars. In the courtyard, Xia Huida and Deng Huashu were personally chatting. As they chatted, they couldn't help but lean in to kiss, and then suddenly saw you walk in. You swaggered over and sat opposite them, smiling and saying, "Why are only you two here? Isn't old Hu supervising you?" Xia Huida glared and said, "Brother He, what kind of words are those? Wan Shu and I are perfectly innocent. What supervision does he need to do?" You smirked and replied, "Innocent now, maybe. Who can guarantee you won't be kissing and breaking apart later?" Xia Huida suddenly got angry and scolded, "Brother He, the more you say such things, the more I like hearing it. Old Xia, you're really something, taking the chance to enjoy yourself like this." You then turned to Deng Wanshu and asked, "Sister Wanshu, where did old Hu go?" Deng Wanshu smiled brightly, her voice lively. "Third brother went back to Yajiankou." You frowned slightly and asked, "Why is old Hu rushing to Yajiankou to risk his life again?" But the two of them didn't answer, falling into silence. Logically, since Deng Wanshu had already woken up, Hu Zhongshuan shouldn't need to stay at Yajiankou to earn merits for Earth Source. So why did he go back now? You glanced at the somewhat quiet Xia Huida and Deng Huashu, suddenly realizing old Hu must be trying to make way for the two of them. This was definitely something Hu Zhongshuan would do. After all, last time during the simulation to obtain Earth Source, he had done something similar. As long as Deng Huashu could be happy, Hu Zhongshuan would rather stay under a car for a lifetime. Xia Huida and Deng Huashu obviously understood Hu Zhongshuan's meaning behind this move, naturally realizing how painful this choice was for him. Although Xia Huida and Hu Zhongshuan were rivals over Deng Huashu, besides that, they had been the closest sworn brothers since childhood, the only difference being they were not born from the same mother. Regarding Hu Zhongshuan's pain, Xia Huida also felt uncomfortable and had no intention to take advantage of the situation. So for now, even if Hu Zhongshuan seemed to be partially withdrawing, the entanglement between these three would not settle so easily. As for Deng Wanshu herself, there was no perfect solution. If she really made a choice, she would inevitably hurt the other person. You can't really say you take odd days. I take even days and let Deng Wanshu rest on Sundays. This matter was just that twisted and complicated. That was why when Xia Huida and Deng Wanshu talked about this topic, their moods were heavy, and they both fell silent. Seeing the atmosphere grow heavy, you could only forcibly lighten the mood by teasing their relationship. Well, I think old Hu and old Xia, one handling outside affairs, the other inside, letting Sister Wanshu be your overall girlfriend sounds pretty good. The two of them looked at you in surprise, not knowing what nonsense you were babbling about. You had intended to break the deadlock, but only made it worse. Luckily, Deng Rusong arrived just then. Even before entering the courtyard, Deng Rusong loudly called out, "Wanshu, Huida, I've already sent a letter to Jishue. This month, huh? Young master, he is here too." Deng Rusong noticed your slight surprise. You also heard a familiar name, Yan Jishue. You recalled that at this point in time, Deng Rusong and Yan Jishue had not yet gotten involved with each other. So how is it that now Deng Rusong was already sending letters to express affection and arranging to spend the month together to have a big fat son named Deng Xiaosong and a big fat daughter named Deng Xiaoxue who would grow up and leave? And they would each go their separate ways. He wrote letters. She didn't reply, just like that? You forcibly suppressed the melody playing in your heart from bursting out. You asked, "Sect leader Deng, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but it sounds like you wrote a letter to a woman?" Dang Rusong did not hide it and said solemnly, "Young master, I inadvertently offended an ultimate grandmaster before, and now I am asking the extermination sect's leader Yen for help to make a connection. I want to personally go apologize." You frowned and asked, "Which ultimate grandmaster did you offend?" "The Palace of 10,000 Dreams sect leader, Shangguan Gosheng." You raised an eyebrow. What a coincidence. You also had an alternate identity as Palace of 10,000 Dreams sect leader Shangguan Gosheng, exactly the same without a single difference. Sect leader Dang, how did you offend him? "I have some friendship with Brother Shangguan. Maybe I can help a little." Dang Rusong was shocked. "Young master, do you really mean that?" "Of course. Actually, Brother Shangguan and I are like brothers, as close as twins." Dang Rusong and the others looked at you in astonishment, never imagining you had connections to such a high-level ultimate grandmaster. Your family background was becoming more and more unfathomable. Dang Rusong's expression brightened as he hurriedly explained the situation to you. It turned out that last time you used the Shangguan Gosheng identity to come test the Nua opera masks. Dang Rusong had secretly grumbled about you a bit, but since you had compensated with pills, he hadn't minded. However, recent rumors said Shangguan Gosheng's power was absolutely supreme, ranking in the top 3 among all ultimate grandmasters. Moreover, Shangguan Gosheng was arrogant and petty, like snatching the Ember Hawk raised by Kong Ling for years in the beast-taming sect without asking. Even the monk Mingjue once got slashed by him without saying a word. All these rumors made Dang Rusong very worried, so he hurriedly sent a letter to the Palace of 10,000 Dreams to apologize again. But since you hadn't been at the palace for months, naturally, there was no reply. Dang Rusong grew even more fearful, thinking Shangguan Gosheng refused his apology, so he began seeking other ultimate grandmasters' connections to contact you. But since you weren't at the palace, no matter who Dang Rusong contacted, it was useless. He assumed the people he reached out to lacked enough influence, so he decided to find Yan Jishue, a powerful top ultimate grandmaster, to deliver the letter and see if he could get in touch with Shangguan Gosheng. Dang Rusong believed this was just business and didn't break his promise to his father. But you knew this might become the beginning of Dang Rusong and Yan Jishue rekindling their relationship. After all, 2 people who already secretly admired each other, now forced into frequent official contact, who knew which 5-star inn they might end up in? In other words, because of your Shangguan Gosheng identity, Dang Rusong and Yan Jishue might get involved even earlier than last time during the simulation. You decided that if Yan Jishue started frequenting Danxia sect, you would also come by often. Just in case Yan Jishue had a cold, beautiful, and somewhat adorable female disciple. After Dang Rusong finished telling you all this, you waved your hand. "Sect leader Dang, it's all trivial. Let me write a letter, and you can take my calligraphy to the Palace of 10,000 Dreams to explain the situation." Xia Hueda turned around and brought out ink and brush for you. You took the brush and with vigorous strokes, you splashed ink and sweated as you wrote several crooked big characters. "Danxia sect, I've got your back. Got it?" Dang Rusong saw these scrawled words that looked like they were written by some mongrels, and immediately put on a pained expression. "Young master, aren't the words in this letter a bit too arrogant?" You waved your hand. "No worries. Brother Shangguan will feel as if I'm right there. You just need to go and let him be. No, just let him listen to your explanation calmly." Dang Rusong was still uneasy. After repeated requests, you rewrote the letter. This time, the tone was much more tactful, transforming you from the social Hiyu into a socialist Hiyu. Dang Rusong finally relaxed, but when he looked at your wildly scribbled handwriting, he still couldn't help but frown, though he didn't say anything. Dang Wanshu sensed Dang Rusong's thoughts and quickly spoke up. "Brother your handwriting really has a unique style, very childlike and playful." You happily said, "Sister Wanshu, you also understand the art of calligraphy?" Dang Wanshu's voice was light and pleasant. "I've learned a bit, but none of it compares to Brother He's free-spirited and unrestrained style." You opened your mouth slightly, eyes darting cleverly. "What do you mean?" Dang Rusong clicked his tongue and said, "Nothing much, just complimenting you." "Oh, then that's fine." Dang Rusong took the letter and was about to head to the Palace of 10,000 Dreams. You told him that Shangguan Gosheng wouldn't return to the palace for another 2 months, so Deng Rusong need not rush. Deng Rusong then tucked the letter close to his body. You looked at him, a smirk tugging at your lips as you deliberately said, "Sect leader Deng, with this letter from me, you won't have to call leader Yan over, right?" Deng Rusong wanted to ask how you knew Yan Jishue, but thinking about your connections with Shangguan Gosheng, it wasn't surprising you knew Yan Jishue. Deng Rusong righteously replied, "The letter has already been sent. How could it be recalled?" You said, "I know the messenger hasn't left yet. It's still possible to intercept it." "It's too late." "It's not too late. Really too late. I'll go chase after him. Stay right there." Deng Rusong firmly pressed you back down into your seat, forcing a dry laugh. "Young master the journey is long. Don't trouble yourself. Not far, not far. I know it's just a mountain mile. I can be back before this cup of tea cools." Seeing you were a bit stubborn, Deng Rusong simply turned and left. "You guys talk. I'll send the messenger off." After Deng Rusong left, Xia Huida and Deng Wanshu exchanged a smile, both finding Deng Rusong's feigned reluctance quite amusing. You, meanwhile, thought in your heart, if Yan Jishue really came, you wondered whether your good friend would come along. But honestly, you didn't care whether your friend showed up or not. You never even considered it. Really, trust yourself on that. You then chatted casually with Xia Huida and Deng Wanshu for a while. Just as you were about to leave, two people walked into Xia Huida's courtyard. You immediately smiled upon recognizing them. The arrivals were none other than Jiao Mingxiu, honest and straightforward, buying the ticket after boarding, and Bai Chen eating meat every day without gaining weight and maintaining strong health despite frequent visits to brothels. The two top dogs strode directly up to Xia Huida, "Master, and Deng." Xia Huida nodded. "Have you finished today's practice?" Jiao and Bai carefully reported their progress in refining pills. Xia Huida calmly gave them some guidance. Then Xia Huida introduced you to them. "By the way, this is Hiyu, my sworn brother. You all call him Uncle Master." Bai Chen and Jiao Mingxiu looked over curiously. Looking at your youthful appearance, confusion filled their eyes. "Uncle Master?" Jiao Mingxiu was a bit more at ease since he was 6 years younger than you. But Bai Chen was less willing to accept it. At 42, he was 21 years your senior, and calling you Uncle Master felt unnatural. You wore a kind expression and flipped your hand, pulling out a thick red envelope you had prepared. "Here, Uncle Master gives you 2 young ones a meeting gift." Bai Chen immediately knelt down with a thud to accept the red envelope. "Thank you, little Uncle Master." Jiao Mingxiu followed suit, kowtowing twice. "Get up, you 2 good kids." You turned to Xia Huida. "Young people these days really are young." Bai Chen said, Yeah, little Uncle Master's right. Happy to see these 2 familiar faces, you invited them to visit your residence whenever they had time. They eagerly agreed. Seeing the sky darken, and with Xia Huida and Deng Wanshu showing no intention to keep you for dinner, you returned to your mansion. The next day, you went to the zoo. You moved half of the animals from the zoo to a new branch park deep within the Qianming mountain range. This new branch was far from the beast-taming sect's territory. You settled all the transported animals in the branch park, then captured a large number of native wild beasts from Qianming mountain range as a control group. Then you brought the mad scientist Dong Jijia to the zoo branch and instructed him carefully to cultivate the beasts using the beast-taming sect's secret beast-taming manual. Dong Jijia laughed maniacally with excitement because he had countless new experimental subjects. Moreover, he was alone in the remote mountains without anyone to disturb him. He could do whatever he pleased. From now on, only his dream of creating the ultimate creature would accompany him. You told Dong Jijia that you didn't care what schemes he came up with, but he must complete the tasks you assigned. Dong Jijia beat his chest loudly, making the most solemn promise of his life to you. You left Qianming mountain range and went to the Palace of 10,000 Dreams. You told Sang Yi to recruit some disciples properly. Otherwise, the sect would feel a bit deserted. A month passed after all arrangements were settled. 1 more month remained before Deng Rusong's visit. You stayed in the palace, continuing to comprehend the earth source of the heavenly mist blade. Unexpectedly, during your comprehension, a sudden flash of insight reminded you of a crucial point about the third Nuwa Opera Mask. You immediately shifted focus to the Nuwa Opera Mask's comprehension. Only 10 days later, you successfully completed the understanding of the third Nuwa Opera Mask. At this moment, in the cultivation chamber, you sat cross-legged with a calm expression. The intangible, formless, swirling energy patterns of heaven and earth began to materialize, like alert, transparent little fish swimming in the air. Whenever these energy strands touched your body, they were immediately repelled and then influenced the surrounding energies. Other expert grandmasters with positive affinity specialized in deducing people or events by capturing the slightest changes in these tiny energy strands. At that moment, your heart stirred, and the third Nuwa Opera Mask began spreading from your face, flowing over your entire body like water. Although you remained in place, you gave off the illusion of gradually disappearing, like an assassin vanishing into the night. The moving energy strands touched your body again. This time, they didn't bounce away but passed straight through you, as if you didn't exist. You no longer disturbed the flow of energy, you became undetectable to deduction, your stealth attribute maxed out. With this, you officially comprehended all three Nuwa Opera Masks. The Nuwa Opera Mask, ranked 5th in positive affinity, became fusion-compatible. You were eager to try fusion, but you knew that once fused, the Earth source would dissipate, and you would lose the 3 special traits of the Nuwa Opera Mask. Comprehending the Earth source was mentally exhausting, but this process advanced your refinement of the mind evolution art. What was once a vague mind evolution art was now categorized into 3 stages, or layers. You had completed the first layer and were on the verge of breaking through to the second. You sensed that breaking into the second layer would also break through your grade 9 pale refining technique. But your top priority remained comprehending the Earth source of the heavenly mist blade. So you pressed on, immersing yourself again in the life or death strikes comprehension. 16 days later, Sang-e arrived outside your door and lightly knocked. Knock, knock, knock. Palace Lord, 2 people request to see you, saying they were introduced by your brother Hiyu. Your sharp black eyes slowly opened, knowing it must be Deng Rusong. But a flicker of doubt crossed your eyes. 2 people? Could Xie Hueda have come along? What kind of people? You asked. Sang-e immediately replied, 1 man and 1 woman. The man is richly dressed, serious and steady. The woman wears a black dress, calm and gentle. Your expression brightened. Why did this couple come together? You said to Sang-e, invite them into the main hall. Yes, sect leader. Also, today we received a secret letter sent by Elder Qi Xian of the Pure Young sect. A glint appeared in your eyes. You knew there was news about the Earth source excavation again. Bring it in. Sang-e pushed open the door and respectfully handed the letter to you. You waved your hand, and Sang-e wisely exited the room to welcome Deng Rusong and Yen Jishue. You opened the letter and read through it. Sure enough, it was news sent by Qi Xian about the Earth source. The letter stated that this Earth source would appear in 4 months, and it would be in the East Sea, but not near the Earth source from last time with the Heavenly Mist Blade. Instead, it would be in a more eastern sea region. You calculated the timing and decided to head there half a month earlier than scheduled. Your hand trembled slightly, and the letter turned to dust, drifting away with the wind. You stood up and headed toward the main hall, but deliberately walked slowly. This way, your imposing presence as an ultimate grandmaster would be more fitting to your persona. Before long, you strode into the main hall. Deng Rusing and Yen Jishue were seated in the upper left position inside the hall, chatting. On the surface, both remained restrained and courteous, treating each other with respect, but inside, their emotions surged turbulently. As soon as you entered, Deng Rusing recognized you at a glance and quickly stood to greet you. Sect leader Shangguan, long time no see. Yen Jishue was still dressed in black, exuding a gentle aura like a beautiful and intellectual noblewoman. She followed Deng Rusong over but wore a barely noticeable look of vigilance. Deng sect leader, long time no see. You laughed heartily. You glanced at Yen Jishue and said, so this is Lady Ling. You 2 really are like wolves and tigers. No, a perfect match, looking absolutely compatible. Deng Rusing's mouth stretched wide as he explained, "Sect leader Shangguan, you have excellent taste, but there's a misunderstanding. This is sect leader Yen of the extermination sect." You suddenly realized and laughed boldly, "So it's sect leader Yen. I've heard about you for a long time. Seeing you today, you truly are impressive." Deng Rusing handed you a letter he was given. "Sect leader Shangguan, this is a letter from Hiyu, young master He, who asked me to pass it to you. Since this letter is from that brat Hiyu, I have to read it." Deng Rusong was secretly surprised. He hadn't expected that mentioning Hiyu's name to you would be so effective here with Shangguan Goshing. You took the letter, opened it casually, and glanced over it with full appreciation in your eyes. In terms of calligraphy, that kid is still top-notch." Deng Rusong twitched his eyelids, now understanding why your handwriting was so ugly yet you remained so confident. It was all because people blindly praised you. At the same time, Deng Rusong couldn't help but speculate about your relationship with Shangguan Goshing. In Deng Rusong's view, since you could even produce the reviving young pill, your family must be mysterious and powerful and skilled in pill refining. There must be ultimate grandmasters in your clan, and their strength would definitely be considerable. Deng Rusong also learned from Yen Jishue that Shangguan Goshing was generous, distributing pills everywhere, so he might be a high-level pill refiner. Moreover, Shangguan Goshing's attitude was overly flattering toward your calligraphy art. Thus, Shangguan Goshing was probably not just your so-called good buddy. He should be a close elder relative in your clan, perhaps a direct ancestor like a grandfather or great-grandfather. After this thought, Deng Rusong roughly understood why Shangguan Goshing had deliberately come to cause trouble at the Danxia sect last time. Deng Rusong believed this was him personally investigating the actual situation of your surrounding forces to ensure no danger would come to you. After connecting these unrelated events, Deng Rusong nodded to himself, feeling quite clever. Deng Rusong shamelessly agreed. Young master He's calligraphy truly flows freely with lively charm, possessing a unique elegance. Your expression brightened, and you said excitedly, "Sect leader Deng, you have a pair of discerning eyes." Yen Jishue glanced at Deng Rusong, then at you. She thought, what kind of calligraphy could make you so excited? She wanted to meet that young master, and see his calligraphy art to broaden her horizons. Deng Rusong turned to fetch a large box he had placed by his feet, intending to apologize for the last incident. Although Deng Rusong thought you were not as arrogant and domineering as rumored, ultimate grandmasters were unpredictable, so it was best to be cautious. In fact, to be safe this time, Yen Jishue had accompanied him. Deng Rusong opened the box, revealing various pills and precious pill refining materials. "Sect leader Shangguan, I apologize for the trouble last time. This is a small token from our Danxia sect." You waved your hand indifferently. "Sect leader Deng, keep it. I heard from that brat Hiyu that his family has a deep connection with your Danxia sect. Since there's such a bond, there are even 8th grade pills." You casually noticed that there were quite a few high-level 8th grade pills in the box. Refining these pills yourself would be time-consuming and laborious. So you added, "Sect leader Deng, forget the few words before the first comma just now. Can you give me those round pills in your box?" Deng Rusong took out the 8th grade pills separately. "Sect leader Shangguan, these are meant for you." You laughed heartily, accepting the few bottles of 8th grade pills. "Sect leader Deng, you're so righteous." Deng Rusing finally relaxed quite a bit. But Yen Jishue's eyes still flickered with faint vigilance. Having led the extermination sect for so many years, she had seen too many madmen and lunatics. Cases of sudden bursts of violence following moments of laughter were endless. You paid no mind to Yen Jishue's caution and instead turned to ask, "Sect leader Yen, did you come alone?" Yen Jishue's smile was full of affinity, her voice smooth and magnetic. "Sect leader Shangguan, do you think I could hide someone else on me?" You persistently asked, "When you left the extermination sect, didn't you bring an adult woman along?" Yen Jishue hesitated slightly. "Now that you mention it, I did bring our saintess Wan Qingwan." You, Yen Jishue, but we parted ways midway. You, Yen Jishue, but then we met again. You, Yen Jishue, but then we parted ways again. You, are you messing with an idiot? Yan Jishue's red lips curled slightly as she smiled. Sect leader Shangguan, why are you so concerned about our saintess? You laughed heartily, haha, just casually asking. Yan Jishue looked at you, her eyes thoughtful. At this moment, Deng Rusing's eyes showed a flash of realization. He guessed you were an elder in Hiyu's family. Suddenly, Deng Rusong had a bright idea and said, Sect leader Shangguan, do you want young master He and heroine want to have more contact? You suddenly looked at Deng Rusong, your eyes filled with admiration. At this moment, you felt Deng Rusong was more understanding and humane than ever before. You laughed heartily, Sect leader Deng, your proposal is quite interesting. Deng Rusong absent-mindedly scratched the spot you found agreeable, and he was very pleased. What Deng Rusong was thinking was that as long as you, Hiyu, and Wan Qingwan interacted more, he himself could also get in touch with Yan Jishue conveniently. What a delight. Besides, the family behind you, Hiyu, was quite mysterious and powerful, matching Wan Qingwan very well in terms of status and identity. Deng Rusong smiled and said, Heroine Wan is exceptionally gifted and stunningly beautiful. Young master, he is also a fine man. They're indeed a good match. Yan Jishue wore a lazy smile on her face. Hee, matters of love, I have always taught freedom, follow your heart. After speaking, Yan Jishue glanced at Deng Rusong. Deng Rusong knew this was a hint directed at him, so he raised his head and his gaze darted around awkwardly. You chuckled, young people should meet more, make friends and all that, more friends, more paths. The couple, Deng Rusong and Yan Jishue, also agreed with this reasoning. Deng Rusong said, Heroine Wan is currently staying briefly at Danxia sect. After Yan Jishue and I return, we can introduce the two of you. You glanced at Deng Rusong, mentally awarding him the title of best support for today. At the same time, you plan to give him a tangible reward. You said, as far as I know, sect leader Deng, you're an 8th grade pill refiner? Master Palace leader Shangguan is correct. Deng Rusong nodded. But he knew you wouldn't ask without reason, so he asked, what does the palace leader mean? You paused for a moment. Actually, I am also an 8th grade pill refiner. Deng Rusong was shocked. He had never known that Great Qian had an ultimate grandmaster who was an 8th grade pill refiner. Moreover, you were an unparalleled ultimate grandmaster. This fact was simply absurd. Deng Rusong stared at you in a daze. He couldn't imagine how someone could possess top-tier martial talent and pill refining talent simultaneously. Yan Jishue also looked at you with astonishment. She understood how difficult it was to achieve both accomplishments at the same time. Seeing their shocked gazes, you laughed. No need to value this too highly emotionally. I'm not saying this to show off. Deng Rusing realized you might want to say something related to him, so he hurriedly asked, what does the palace leader mean? Your expression was confident. I mean, I'm confident I can become a 9th grade pill refiner and what? Deng Rusong lost composure slightly. You looked at him solemnly, and I can give sect leader Deng the chance to become a 9th grade pill refiner as well. Impossible. Deng Rusong exclaimed, if the palace leader is an 8th grade pill refiner, then you must know about divine microvision. Of course, I know divine microvision, and I also know that sect leader Deng has been stuck at 8th grade precisely because he lacks the divine microvision talent. Palace leader, what are you trying to say? Deng Rusing's voice trembled. You said no more, instead reaching into your crotch and pulling out the Mind Evolution Art Manual. You slowly handed it to Deng Rusong, your voice low but clear. Deng Rusong seemed to hear the music of the heavens. This is the Mind Evolution Art. It can grant sect leader Deng the ability of divine microvision. Deng Rusing's breathing suddenly grew rapid. Your words struck the deepest place of his unwillingness and regret. Deng Rusong considered himself not inferior to anyone in his life, but was unable to reach 9th grade because he lacked the divine microvision talent. This innate disadvantage beyond his control made him very resentful. Now hearing you say you could solve this problem, how could he not be excited? Deng Rusong looked at you incredulously. Why give it to me? You wanted to say it was because he supported you well, but at the last moment, you changed your words. This is to thank sect leader Deng for taking care of you all these years. Well, It's not like I took care of him that much. Deng Rusung hesitated, not daring to accept readily. You directly handed him the mind evolution art. If you're going to take it, just take it. No need to say more. Deng Rusung was extremely excited and started flipping through it immediately. After reading just a few pages, Deng Rusung became even more thrilled. He confirmed on the spot that the mind evolution art was exactly what he had dreamed of for years. Deng Rusung looked at you with excitement, then at the mind evolution art, deeply shocked. You had solved a century-old great problem. The reason you could create the mind evolution art was that your own divine microvision was acquired after birth. This let you understand the process from 0 to 1. Xia Huida's notes helped you solve the problem from 1 to 10. Combined with the continuous refinement of the 9 condensation's profound skill, your already perfected divine microvision was further enhanced, allowing you to reach a higher level. Thus, you were able to create the mind evolution art with a commanding perspective. After opening the mind evolution art, Deng Rusung immediately devoted himself wholeheartedly. He seemed like a lost traveler in the desert, parched for many days, who had just found a clear spring, drinking nectar. Deng Rusung absorbed the knowledge points in the mind evolution art ravenously. Now he even felt that Yan Jishue beside him was temporarily less appealing. Seeing Deng Rusung's state, you told Yan Jishue to take him back to Danxia sect. You also reminded Yan Jishue to keep a close eye on the obsessed Deng Rusung so that no carts would hit him on the road. Just after sending off the couple, a guest arrived at your palace of 10,000 dreams, Kong Ling from the beast taming sect. Sang Yi brought Kong Ling into the main hall. Kong Ling had come to take home his 3 precious beasts. At the same time, Kong Ling also brought the 5 sea swallows. The 5 originally small sea swallows had all been enlarged proportionally, reaching 2 to 3 times their original size. Their physiques were also strengthened, but not by much. This degree of enhancement you could also achieve with blood essence pills. You knew the problem was that the breeding time was too short to verify whether the beast taming sex boundary was an issue. You told Kong Ling to take them back and raise them for another 2 years. Kong Ling's face darkened. He had come to exchange hostages today, but you refused to release the birds, making him desperately upset. Brother Shangguan, we agreed on 1 year to return the Emberhawks to me. Brother Kong misunderstood my intentions. Of course, I will return them to Brother Kong. You told Sang Yi to bring the Emberhawks over. Kong Ling's face brightened. Thank you very much, Brother Shangguan. Sang Yi quickly brought the Emberhawks. Kong Ling smiled and looked over, but his face immediately stiffened. Brother Shangguan, why is there only 1? You laughed. Brother Kong, help me raise them for 1 year, and I'll return 1 to you in installments. After another 2 years, I will repay all of them. Well, okay then. What else could Kong Ling do? He was powerless. Kong Ling was about to leave with the single Emberhawk when he felt the bird seemed mentally unwell. Brother Shangguan, I feel like this is a normal problem. Young creatures are shy. Bring it home and raise it for a couple of days, and it will be fine. Kong Ling gave you a resentful look. I haven't even said what the problem is. There's no problem that a warm home can't heal. Hurry and take your big bird back. Kong Ling had no choice but to leave. What could Kong Ling do? He was helpless. After sending Kong Ling off, you immediately took off and flew back to Yutong County. Of course, you flew so fast not because you heard your best friend in the world was a Danxia sect. You just wanted to see if the pomegranate flowers on Danxia Mountain had bloomed yet. You sped all the way back to Yutong County. Because you deliberately avoided Yan Jishue's flight path, you didn't run into Yan Jishue and Deng Rusung, who had set off earlier than you. You returned to the manor. Old Wang, beaming with a full spirit, walked straight up to you, young master. You didn't stop walking. Old Wang, say it if there's something. If not, shut up. Then there's nothing. Old Wang put away his smile and brushed past you. You went back to your bedroom, took out the treasured bronze mirror you had kept for years, and began to paste flower yellow makeup in front of it. You combed your hair into a mature style and put on a handsome suit. Just as you finished dressing up, Old Wang gently knocked on the door. Young master. Speak. There's a guest requesting to see you. No meeting. She's a beautiful female guest. Send her in. All right. Old Wang turned and went to the door to greet her. You were slightly puzzled. A woman? It must be Sister Washu, or maybe Hiangchun, or perhaps Widow Zhang next door. You calmly walked out of the room and went to the main hall. You quickly ran to the main hall. Yan Jishue was sitting there, quietly sipping tea with a serene expression. You immediately pretended not to recognize her. Sister, who are you looking for? Your form of address made Yan Jishue smile softly. She put down her teacup and asked, You're Hiyu, young master He, right? Yes, sister. Yan Jishue's smile was gentle as she stood up. Sect leader Deng has been immersed in cultivation and hasn't come yet. I'm here on his behalf to thank you, because it was your recommendation that made the palace leader Shangguan grant sect leader Deng the mind evolution art. Sister, are you thanking me empty-handed? Yan Jishue smiled gracefully. Isn't this enough? You said, it's a bit lacking. Yan Jishue was about to respond when a cheerful voice sounded behind you. Leader, I'm here. That familiar voice made the corner of your mouth lift, your eyes brightening slightly. You turned and saw Wan Qingwan in a pure white long dress, a faint smile playing on her cold and exquisite face. Her steps were light and elegant, like a deer in the forest. As you turned, she cast her gaze at you. Seeing you silent, she tilted her head slightly and said on her own initiative, Hello, my name is Wan Qingwan. Hello. Wan Qingwan paused, seemingly waiting for your next sentence, but it never came. Her small nose wrinkled. You're rude. You should say your name too. My surname is Good, and I'm called Friend. Good Friend. Yes. Your name is strange. That's my nickname. My full name is Hiyu. Which name should I call you from now on? Either one, I'll respond. Hiyu. I'm here. Good Friend. Here. Little He classmate. I'm here. Wan Qingwan laughed happily. She thought you were quite amusing, like a fool. Yan Jishue watched you too with a kind smile, as if seeing her younger self and Deng Rusong. Feeling joyful, you said to Wan Qingwan and Yan Jishue, both of you are visiting my manor for the first time. Tonight I've prepared some simple wine. Would you honor me with your presence? Yan Jishue smiled and said, Young master, He's gracious invitation. How could we refuse? Wan Qingwan thought that the leader's reputation was huge. Wherever she went, people invited her to eat. At night, the three of you ate, drank, and chatted, relaxed and happy. During this time, you told Yan Jishue to tell Deng Rusong not to reveal your relationship with Shangguan Goshing to outsiders, because you preferred to keep a low profile. Yan Jishue naturally agreed. You specifically mentioned this because you knew the name Shangguan Goshing would definitely make many enemies, and you didn't want to implicate others. Soon, you were full of food and drink, all of you talking smoothly and lively. Yan Jishue was about to leave with Wan Qingwan to return to the extermination sect. You warmly urged, Leader Yan, it's so late, don't drive through the night. Yan Jishue smiled teasingly, Young master He, night and day make no difference to me. In that case, Leader Yan, you walk alone then. Yan Jishue. You looked at Wan Qingwan. Qingwan, you don't have to go. I've prepared a double bed for you. Wan Qingwan, that feels a bit weird. Yan Jishue smiled lightly. Young master He, we're leaving. No need to see us off. Yan Jishue led Wan Qingwan directly into the starry night sky. You made a last effort to persuade them. Leader Yan, no drinking while driving. Wan Qingwan waved enthusiastically at you with a bright smile. I'll come find you again to play good friend. You stood still for a moment, watching the direction they disappeared, then returned to your room. Old Wang and the servants were cleaning up the aftermath. He looked at your back and muttered, the double bed was wasted. The next day, you got up early. You went to the zoo. Using the Beast Taming Sex Beast Taming Manual, the animals you had raised for a year had many physical improvements, but like those 5 sea swallows, there was no essential change. This result was expected. You planned to observe for a few more years. You extracted vital blood from 186 types of beasts. These beasts from which you extracted the vital blood were the batch raised with blood essence pills. You wouldn't fuse with beasts raised by the Beast Taming Manual for now. Only with a reliable blood source can one drink with peace of mind. You refine the vital blood from all 186 species in an instant. But it was useless. Your guarding gate body technique was still at the early marrow washing stage, with no breakthroughs. Frowning in the training room, you recalled how 3 drops of blood from 3 Emberhawks broke through 3 minor realms in succession. The beast blood you raised was truly useless. Your eyes flickered. You realized that just feeding the animals well wasn't enough. The quality of vital blood would never meet the standard. You planned to select the strongest few for focused training. The selection method was the most primitive, let them fight. Just like raising goo worms, cultivate the strongest goo king. Only the strongest little beasts deserve to be absorbed by me. But you didn't want to set up an arena now. Your most important task was to increase your strength. In 4 months, you were determined to claim the Earth Source in the East Sea. You dove headfirst into the training room and began to focus on comprehending the heavenly mist blade. You had a strong premonition that this time's insight would definitely bear fruit. Time flew at the turning of the sun and moon. In the blink of an eye, 2 months later. That day, Old Wang was leading the servants in morning exercise in the courtyard. Suddenly, a violent fluctuation erupted in your training room. The training room door was instantly shattered into fragments. Looking through the empty doorframe, you sat cross-legged calmly, a terrifyingly fierce fluctuation radiating from your body. Your eyes slowly opened. Within the cold, dark pupils, infinite starlight seemed to swirl, captivating the soul. Old Wang was so frightened he ran over, leaning against the doorframe panting heavily. "Young master, are you all right?" You twisted your mouth into a smile. Your voice was uncontrollably excited. "I'm fine. I'm great. I've never been better." That's good, that's good." Old Wang, although confused, still agreed. You suddenly looked at Old Wang, your tone arrogant and mad. "Old Wang, from now on, just call me the best in the world." Old Wang's face turned pale, but he didn't dare provoke you further. "Young master, as long as you're happy." You stood up and swaggered out of the manor. Even after your figure disappeared, Old Wang still looked deeply worried. "This is over. The manor will definitely have to invite an expert." At this moment, you had already shot up into the sky, flying straight toward the East Sea. The Earth Source would not appear for another 2 months, and it would only take you 1 month to get there. But last time, arriving a few days early almost made you miss the Earth Source. So you were much more cautious now. After all, caution steers the ship for 10,000 years. 1,000 years of cultivation leads to sharing a pillow. You had completely mastered the life and death slash and successfully fused the heavenly mist blade's Earth Source. You became Great Qian's first genuine extreme path warrior to fuse 2 Earth Sources properly. Li Anlong didn't count. Because in the previous simulation, Li Anlong retained part of Hu Zhangxuan's consciousness after fusing with him. Moreover, the transformation Hu Zhangxuan's Earth Source gave Li Anlong was not as thorough as your authentic fusion of 2 Earth Sources. Li Anlong could only be considered to have half a foot stepping into a new realm. Even so, Li Anlong's strength was enough to contend against dozens of extreme path grandmasters without falling behind. As for you, a proper second-stage extreme path warrior, claiming to be the best under heaven was not a bit unreasonable. Who would have thought that a mere dragon transformation warrior like you dared to shout you were #1 in the world? You planned to go to the capital after obtaining the East Sea's Earth Source this time to find Li Anlong. You wanted to ask him why he had cut you in 2. You wanted to ask why he ate people. He didn't eat the living, only your acquaintances. But you could already imagine that a cunning man like Li Anlong would definitely deny knowing what you were talking about. You would never believe such a sneaky man's words. If he dared to argue, he wouldn't have a good end. If he admitted it, he would get what was coming to him. You thought yourself kind-hearted, a truly upright person struck by heaven's thunder. You flew smoothly without obstruction. In the past, traveling by horse, you would encounter road bandits and thugs who would delay you by several seconds. Now it was different. With better living conditions, you flew directly through the sky, much faster. Along the way, you encountered other extreme path grandmasters on flight paths, but since they didn't recognize you, none came to fly alongside you. You ignored them as well. They still didn't know who you were. But if they dared to compete with you for the Earth Source, you would make sure they would never forget who you were. You flew at full speed for more than 20 days, almost a month. That day, you finally arrived at your destination, Sea Snake Island. Sea Snake Island was a nameless little island. Its area was as large as a small island. You suddenly stopped above Sea Snake Island, arriving quite early. But there were already 3 Extreme Path Grandmasters hovering above the island, and they were together. With a casual glance, you even spotted a familiar face, Master Mingjue. The moment Master Mingjue saw you, his expression darkened. If he were alone, he would definitely have turned and fled, but now there were 3 of them, so Mingjue was somewhat unwilling. Although rumors in the community ranked your combat strength among the top 3 of the Supreme Extreme Path Grandmasters, the source of this rumor was actually Mingjue himself, who casually spread the news. He didn't truly understand your real strength. You smiled slyly at Mingjue. Come over. You knew Mingjue had come again to find Earth Source to refine delay aging pills for his concubine. But he hadn't checked the almanac before leaving, and unfortunately, he ran into you. Mingjue was unlucky, but it had to be said, he was indeed a big romantic at heart. Mingjue and the other 2 exchanged a glance and shook their heads slightly, signaling not to act rashly. Mingjue came beside you, rubbed his shiny bald head, and smiled. Amitba, Palace Leader Shangguan, are you here to cruise the seas too? You feigned surprise. Oh, Master Mingjue, you recognize me this time? Haha, last time was all a misunderstanding. I've long heard of the Palace of 10,000 Dreams, right? Yes. Then you 3 can leave. Mingjue was stunned, gritting his teeth. Palace Leader Shangguan, your strength is undoubtedly supreme, but you can't be so overbearing. You can't just tell us to leave with one word. At that moment, the other 2 also drifted over, giving Mingjue more confidence. You looked at the 3 and nodded. Indeed, telling you to leave with one word is improper. Mingjue's face brightened, thinking you had compromised. He felt that even facing 3 top Extreme Path Grandmasters, you had no guaranteed victory. Master Mingjue thought learning from last time's lesson, bringing 2 more people was an extremely wise decision. Otherwise, he would be running away again. You leisurely spoke. One word is improper, but 1 slash is appropriate. Clang. A clear, sharp blade sound rang out. Mingjue and the other 2 immediately felt their massive energy signatures locked on and suddenly retreated violently. In an instant, they were more than 20 meters away. They exchanged horrified glances, knowing the near-death sensation was real. Luckily, they dodged in time. While still trembling with fear and relief, they simultaneously felt a sharp pain in their chests. Looking down, all 3 saw identical wounds penetrating their sternums in exactly the same place. The wounds paused for a second, as if reacting, then began to gush blood. All 3 shouted in alarm. The scene was too horrifying. Almost simultaneously, 3 identical wounds in position, length, and depth appeared on the chests of 3 top Extreme Path Grandmasters. It was simply terrifying. Mingjue and the others didn't even care about their injuries and looked at you in shock. At this moment, Mingjue was certain your strength could definitely rank among the top 3 Supreme Extreme Path Grandmasters, perhaps even number 1. You smiled faintly. If you don't leave now, the next slash won't be to your chests. Originally desperate, Mingjue and the others felt as if they had been granted mercy. Thank you, Palace Leader, for your mercy. Leave quickly. Mingjue shouted loudly, and the 3 frantically flew toward the horizon, only wanting to escape the shadow of death as soon as possible. Just as Mingjue was about to disappear on the horizon, his resentful voice came from afar. Amitba. Shangguan Gosheng, Palace Leader Shangguan, I hope you find happiness. Mingjue stopped mid-sentence, feeling a prickly sensation like thorns on his back, hurriedly corrected himself, and saved his life. Now Mingjue had 2 lives. Shortly after Mingjue left, several waves of Extreme Path Grandmasters arrived intermittently. Some came alone, others came in groups. You ignored them for now, waiting until they were all gathered before chasing them all away. You silently thought, no matter who comes, none can stay. The only way to remain is to leave behind their own corpse. While you were thinking, a soft, full of smile voice came. Oh, Palace Leader Shangguan is here too? You looked toward the voice, your eyes brightening. Leader Yen, what a coincidence. Yen Jishue smiled as she flew over. 3 others followed behind her, all extreme path grandmasters of the extermination sect. You smiled broadly on your face, silently putting Yen Jishue on your white list of people allowed to stay. Palace leader Shangguan, you must also be here for the Earth Source. Yen Jishue said with a smile. You laughed heartily. Leader Yen must be as well, so does that make us competitors? Yen Jishue's smile was subtle, but a faint glint flashed in her eyes. Exactly. Yen Jishue's words made you pause for a moment. Although Earth Source was very important to you, Yen Jishue, as your good friend's sect leader, would put you in a difficult position if she really tried to compete with you for the Earth Source. You frowned slightly and finally sighed inwardly, helplessly thinking, there's really nothing I can do about Leader Yen. I guess I have to break the rule and hit an elder for the first time. You looked at Yen Jishue and said, Leader Yen, don't cry too loudly later, okay? A trace of doubt appeared on Yen Jishue's lazily smiling face, then she chuckled lightly. Palace leader Shangguan, do you think the 4 of us are just ordinary ultimate grandmasters? The 3 people Yen Jishue brought today were the top 5 main forces of the extermination sect. With this combination plus Yen Jishue herself, even facing the absolute peak ultimate grandmasters, they would not be much weaker. You laughed heartily. Of course, Leader Yen isn't ordinary, but how do you know I'm just an ordinary ultimate grandmaster? Yen Jishue's eyes narrowed. She could feel your confidence and flamboyance. The 3 ultimate grandmasters behind Yen Jishue also involuntarily glanced over. Their expressions were calm, but showed slight disdain. You grinned and stopped dwelling on this topic. Instead, you casually chatted with Yen Jishue. During your conversation, more than 10 ultimate grandmasters arrived one after another, eventually totaling 22 ultimate grandmasters. You realized that this time, either there were a lot of Earth sources or they ranked very high. During the last simulated year, you had no chance to access information at this level because you were a marrow washing stage elder. Therefore, you were unclear whether, aside from the Yajianku incident, many authentic Earth sources had also appeared this time on Sea Snake Island. You just hoped that the number of Earth sources appearing this time would be as many as possible. After these 22 ultimate grandmasters assembled, most of them recognized each other, but each stood their ground, with a vague sense of confrontation. Most of them looked at the 4 of Yen Jishue's group with strong caution in their eyes. The 4 of Yen Jishue remained calm and relaxed. As for you, who floated together with Yen Jishue's group but were relatively unfamiliar, you did not receive much attention. They assumed you were just an ultimate grandmaster from the extermination sect who happened to be free and was casually dragged along by Yen Jishue to fill numbers. The 22 ultimate grandmasters remained silent in the heavy atmosphere for a moment. Soon, one ultimate grandmaster sighed helplessly, transforming into a streak of light and flying away. Following this person's admission of defeat, 5 more ultimate grandmasters flew away one after another, leaving 13, besides Yen Jishue's 4, still present. Seeing the timing was right, you cast a cold, indifferent glance around. Then you cleared your throat, preparing to stand up and drive away all 13. Before you could finish, Yen Jishue suddenly interrupted you. Her tone was gentle but carried an inexplicable pressure. Everyone, are you staying because you think I'm easy to deal with? Everyone's hearts sank, their expressions turning grave as they looked at Yen Jishue. Not a single person cared whether you had spoken just now. What? You couldn't help but turn your head to Yen Jishue, surprised that such a great chance to show off had been snatched away. After a moment, a scholarly-looking man in the crowd stood up. He gritted his teeth and said, Leader Yen, if there is more than one Earth source, does that mean the extermination sect wants to monopolize them all? Yen Jishue smiled lightly and nodded, of course. You. The scholar was instantly at a loss for words. The other ultimate grandmaster's eyes also showed dissatisfaction. The scholar snorted coldly, Leader Yen, leave some room for negotiation. If you push us too hard, the dozen of us joining forces won't make it easy for the 5 of you either. Yen Jishue gave a charming smile and said nothing further. She whipped her 9-section whip and charged straight forward. 3 ultimate grandmasters of the extermination sect immediately followed her. The dozen or so people instantly plunged into a lively battle, leaving you, the world's #1, standing there at a loss. Ignored by everyone, you felt helpless like a child. You wanted to join the fight directly, but felt it would be too presumptuous. In the end, you just took a handful of melon seeds from your space and started cracking them. You guys fight, no, finish fighting first, In the air, Yan Jishue's group exchanged blows freely, source power bursting forth wildly, various lights flashing brilliantly. The intense fluctuations stirred up huge waves on the once calm sea surface. But soon, Yan Jishue's 4 began to strongly suppress the temporary group of over a dozen opponents. By the time you had not finished cracking your melon seeds, the winner and loser had already been decided. Leader Yan, we surrender. Stop fighting. Those dozen ordinary ultimate grandmasters were beaten until their heads were bleeding and faces disfigured, quickly begging for mercy. Yan Jishue retracted her flexible 9-section whip, smiling faintly. Please. Retreat. Run quickly. The dozen stubborn men, injured and panicked, fled in all directions. You threw away the uneaten melon seeds and laughed heartily, as expected of leader Yan. Ha ha ha. Yan Jishue turned around and looked at you, smiling. Palace leader Shangguan, are you still going to compete with us? You smacked your lips. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. What do you mean? Yan Jishue was puzzled. Actually, what you were thinking was if there appeared Earth sources with dry metal affinity this time, you would definitely claim them. If the Earth sources were of other affinities, you could let Yan Jishue have them. After all, the old matriarch saved half your life during the last simulation. Besides, you and Yan Jishue had fought together in the boss battle against Lian Long, so you were comrades who had endured gunfire together. Before you could say more, a sudden strong wind rose on Sea Snake Island beneath your feet. The atmosphere of heaven and earth was abruptly stirred. You and Yan Jishue exchanged a glance, knowing this was the sign of an earth source manifesting. Sure enough, in no time, a faint mist slowly appeared on Sea Snake Island, wavering as it solidified and expanded. You laughed arrogantly, and vast source power suddenly swept out, but most of it was used to block Yan Jishue and her group. The 4 were caught off guard, feeling the surrounding air grow thick and viscous, making their source power release sluggish. Yan Jishue's pupils twitched, her face full of disbelief. The other 3 were equally shocked, because they realized that you had purely used your immense source power to restrain them. It was like everyone was spraying each other with little water guns, but you had brought down a swimming pool of water from the sky, drowning everyone inside. This meant your source power was many, many times greater than that of Yan Jishue's 4, definitely exceeding the gap between top ultimate grandmasters and absolute peak ultimate grandmasters. Ignoring their shock, your eyes focused only on the Earth source. While restraining Yan Jishue's group, you had already released another gentle source power toward the Earth source on Sea Snake Island. Your released source power rapidly approached Sea Snake Island. When it was about 50 meters away, a soft sound was heard. Your source power seemed to collide with some barrier and suddenly dissipated. You frowned. Then 2 even stronger source power shot out, only to be instantly dissipated as well. You looked baffled. What the hell? Did I hit a ghost? You simply released the restraints on Yan Jishue and the others, then drew your soul awakening blade in reverse grip. Yan Jishue and her companions understood you meant them no harm, so they refrained from any rash movements. Moreover, they had witnessed how your source power was blocked and were equally curious. The starlight swirled around the soul-awakening blade in your hand as you delivered a fierce slash toward Sea Snake Island. The massive blade light carved a brilliant trajectory through the air, heading straight for Sea Snake Island. Boom! The blade light shattered violently against the transparent barrier, countless sparkling points of light dissipating into the air. The seawater around Sea Snake Island was thrown into massive waves over 10 meters high, yet the hemispherical transparent barrier remained completely unmoved. That earth source swayed gracefully within the transparent barrier, as if emitting cheerful mocking laughter. Your single slash made Yen Jishua's heart tremble, her beautiful eyes filled with utter astonishment. She knew she would have to exert her full strength to block such an attack from you, yet she could see you hadn't expended much effort at all. Yen Jishua's rosy lips parted slightly as she unconsciously turned her gaze toward you. You turned to look at Yen Jishue and asked, "Leader Yen, do you know what's going on here?" Although you were the world's #1 at 21 years old, you might not know as much as an established ultimate grandmaster like Yen Jishue. After all, Yen Jishue had eaten more salt than you had walked roads. Yen Jishue recovered from her shock, her eyes slowly sweeping over you before turning towards Sea Snake Island. Yen Jishue also sent several powerful surges of source force toward the island, but the transparent barrier only vibrated slightly before returning to calm. Yen Jishue also looked puzzled. "I don't know what this is either." You nodded, your expression turning solemn. "I understand now, Leader Yen. All of you, move further away." The aura around you suddenly began to intensify, instantly surpassing that of a peak ultimate grandmaster. The relaxed smile vanished from Yen Jishue's face as she frowned and asked, "Palace Leader Shangguan, what do you mean by this?" You didn't answer, instead raising the soul awakening blade high with both hands. You were no longer holding back, preparing to unleash your life and death slash. As the only martial artist who had fused with 2 earth sources, using your most powerful blade technique, this strike represented the strongest known attack in the current world. If the transparent barrier could withstand even this, then things would get truly interesting. There would definitely be some explanation needed. Your robes began flapping violently, your black hair flowing without any wind. The calm sea surface suddenly stirred with turbulence, colossal waves crashing against the water one after another with thunderous roars. All your source power converged onto the soul awakening blade, causing it to vibrate wildly while emitting blinding light. You roared fiercely, "This strike will be enormous." Boom! The sky-obscuring phantom of the soul awakening blade pressed down violently toward the transparent light barrier over Sea Snake Island. An earth-shaking roar pierced through the eardrums of everyone present. Yen Jishue and her 3 companions were blasted back dozens of meters by the shockwave. After a moment, the wind and waves gradually subsided. Seawater began raining from the sky, mixed with various seafood like seaweed and other marine life. Yen Jishue also looked puzzled. "I don't know what this is either." That transparent light barrier actually remained completely unmoved. As your words faded, your body went limp and you began falling straight toward the sea below. The source power within your body was completely depleted, truly not a single drop remained. At that moment, a gentle surge of source power extended out, catching you steadily. You turned to look. As expected of your reliable guardian, she had protected you once again. "Thanks, Leader Yen." Yen Jishue recovered from her shock, looking at you with increasingly brilliant eyes. You immediately pulled out elixirs and stuffed your mouth full, crunching and chewing wildly before swallowing them down. Your source power rapidly recovered, immediately restoring your flight capability. Simultaneously, Yen Jishue and her 3 companions floated over with solemn expressions. They no longer dared to harbor any thoughts of challenging you. Yen Jishue and her group now understood where your confidence and boldness came from. You were genuinely ruthless. The power of your life and death slash completely exceeded their understanding. When that strike collided with the transparent light screen, they felt like they were seeing a second sun. But the absurd thing was that the light screen still hadn't broken. A relaxed expression reappeared on Yen Jishue's softly contoured cheeks as she examined you for a long time. "Palace Leader Shangguan, are you truly just a peak ultimate grandmaster?" "More or less," you answered casually, currently more concerned about what the light screen over Sea Snake Island actually was. You stroked your chin, silently pondering. Your previous attack represented the strongest strike in this current world, yet it still couldn't break through the light screen. The form of this light screen clearly wasn't naturally formed. Your eyes flickered with insight as you reached a bold conclusion. That there still existed power in this world that surpassed the second stage ultimate grandmaster. The light barrier before you served as proof, and this wasn't even a direct manifestation of their power. Merely a defensive barrier they created could withstand the power of a second-stage extreme path warrior like yourself. One could only imagine how immeasurable the power they themselves possessed must be. But you didn't understand why you had never encountered them before. Were they deliberately hiding? Yet the ultimate grandmasters in this world already acted like kings and tyrants, dominating the world without restraint. So why would these stronger individuals need to hide? What were they hiding from? What were they afraid of? If they truly wanted to conceal themselves, why would they create a light barrier and leave it here? Wouldn't this actually make them more likely to be exposed? If these people weren't hiding, had they perhaps disappeared? Died? But in that case, there should at least be traces of their existence in the world, along with relevant records and legends. Yet now there was nothing. What lay beneath this light barrier? Was some heaven-defying treasure hidden there? Was it an entrance to another world? Could breaking through the light barrier lead to another world? Was this the only light barrier in this world? Why did the Earth source happen to appear within the light barrier? Was it coincidence? Why? The more you thought, the more questions arose, the information in your mind becoming increasingly chaotic. After a long while, you somewhat organized the complex information. You felt that regardless of circumstances, as long as you could break through the light barrier, you could at least learn some things. Which meant you absolutely had to fuse more Earth sources 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, or 8. Perhaps you might even need to fuse 10 Earth sources to reach a higher level. But as long as you fused enough yourself, you would eventually break through the light barrier and get answers. You also weren't particularly worried about the existence of people with higher power levels still in this world. Because from previous simulations, even if they truly still existed, they hadn't emerged to interfere with this world. Even if they did appear, the worst you could do was die, and you could return the next second. Death posed no threat to you. You knew overthinking was useless. Your main mission remained collecting Earth sources. Strengthening your power was never wrong. You turned to Yan Jixue and said, "Leader Yan, I'm withdrawing. Do as you please." You weren't the least bit worried about the light barrier being broken by Yan Jixue and the others. During your attack on the light barrier, you discovered that every point of the barrier had the same defensive strength, meaning they would need a single individual's power to reach the threshold required to break the light barrier's defense. Coordinated attacks would be useless. Yan Jixue lifted her beautiful eyes. "Palace leader Shangguan, are you not concerned about this Earth source?" You laughed heartily. "Leader Yan, I gift it to you." After speaking, you immediately flew away, heading toward the capital direction. You planned to find Lianlong and catch up. Continuous rumbling sounds immediately came from behind you. You knew Yan Jixue and her 4 companions were diligently attacking the light barrier. You chuckled lightly, unconcerned. You transformed into a stream of light, plummeting straight toward the capital direction. You flew nonstop toward the capital. 2 months later, you once again set foot in the capital's territory. The capital's architectural layout remained unchanged from the last simulation, still consisting of the outer city, inner city, and imperial city, 3 layers of city walls nested within each other. Another thing that hadn't changed was the prohibition against flying within the imperial city boundaries. But this rule clearly didn't apply to you, as you could take flight anywhere at any time. At this moment, within the palace city, the weather was clear and bright, with skies as blue as if freshly washed. Everything appeared harmonious and stable. Suddenly, you materialized abruptly above the palace city. You stood with hands behind your back, robes fluttering in the wind. You calmly looked down at the palace city beneath your feet, your immense aura suddenly spreading out like a massive dark cloud enveloping the entire palace complex. 3 ultimate grandmasters from the Li imperial clan immediately rose from the palace grounds. All 3 looked grave, with one dark-faced man showing clear anger. "Which sect does your excellency belong to? Don't you know flying is forbidden within the imperial city boundaries?" You spoke calmly. "Which hall is Lianlong in?" The dark-faced man didn't answer at all, his tone full of threat. "Your excellency must leave immediately. Otherwise, you'll never leave." You glanced sideways at him. Simultaneously, a blinding white light abruptly expanded in his vision. You! The dark-faced man's face filled with terror as source power surged out wildly, desperately throwing a punch to meet the attack. Crack. The sound of shattered bone and flesh echoed as the dark-faced man's right arm was split in half, hanging limply from his shoulder. The dark-faced man screamed in both shock and terror. The other two ultimate grandmasters, startled by your sudden attack, quickly protected the dark-faced man as they retreated dozens of meters, all three looking at you with horror. The dark-faced man frantically took out pills and swallowed them, temporarily stopping the bleeding from his shattered arm. You asked again, "Which hall is Leon Long in?" Clutching his right arm, the dark-faced man said with venomous expression, "I'd rather die than tell you." Jing. The person to the dark-faced man's right was directly cleaved in half, falling to the ground and staining the palace city with blood. The dark-faced man's face twitched, but he forcibly overcame his fear. "I'd rather die than tell you." Bang! The person to his left exploded right before his eyes. "Where is Leon Long?" Your tone turned icy. The dark-faced man laughed coldly and fiercely. "I'd rather die than tell you." You nodded, moving your hand as if to finish him with one strike. But the dark-faced man suddenly spoke up, his expression determined. "But if I'm not dead, I can tell you." You glanced at the dark-faced man, surprised that this guy would risk his life just to make a joke. The originally resolute expression on the dark-faced man's face transformed into a sincere smile. "Let me show you the way, Your Excellency, right this way." The dark-faced man led you above the Fontaine Hall, the tall palace majestic and magnificent. "Great hero, Leon Long is inside. You can go in now." You turned to look at him and smiled. "I should go in?" "Yes." Your soul-awakening blade suddenly swung down toward the dark-faced man. Unable to dodge in time, he immediately met his end. You turned back to look at Fontaine Hall and directly swung a blade strike that blotted out the sky toward it. Boom! The palace shattered, bricks and tiles flying everywhere, raising endless clouds of dust. Audacious! How dare you offend the imperial presence? From the collapsed Fontaine Hall, over 20 ultimate grandmasters flew out, their hearts filled with fury as they charged at you with full force. You knew these 20-plus ultimate grandmasters were all currently in the imperial city, with others distributed throughout other parts of Great Chien. You laughed coldly, your soul-awakening blade glowing brilliantly as you calmly responded, killing 3 ultimate grandmasters in the blink of an eye. Despite over 20 people besieging you, they couldn't gain any advantage, and the remaining ultimate grandmasters grew more apprehensive the longer they fought. At that moment, a deep and authoritative voice resounded through the skies. The 20-plus ultimate grandmasters, who had long wanted to retreat, quickly withdrew. Leon Long, dressed in imperial yellow robes, slowly rose into the sky and spoke gradually. "Your Excellency, exactly what? You think you can retreat just because you want to? Did I agree? Die." Ignoring Leon Long completely, you charged toward the retreating ultimate grandmasters. You chased after the 20-plus people, cutting them down wildly. Leon Long was stunned. This was the first time since becoming emperor that someone had ignored his words. He thought you had guts. You chased the 20-plus people for several blocks, with blade light flashing fiercely and screams echoing continuously as ultimate grandmasters kept falling. Leon Long could no longer maintain his composed demeanor. Source power suddenly surged out around him. Woohoo! A dragon's roar echoed through the clouds. A massive 5-clawed golden dragon rushed out from within him, attacking you with overwhelming might. But what greeted the 5-clawed golden dragon was an even more immense blade. The 5-clawed golden dragon instantly seemed as insignificant as a small loach by comparison. Boom! A sky-shaking explosion echoed. The aftershocks of the collision made the entire palace city shake twice. Finally, the smoke in the air gradually dispersed. The remaining ultimate grandmasters urgently looked toward Leon Long, and what they saw shook them to their core. They saw Leon Long held casually in your hand like a dead dog, barely breathing. "Your Majesty!" The ultimate grandmasters cried out in terror. Some of the most shocked and angry ultimate grandmasters shouted, "Who exactly are you?" You alone fought over 20 ultimate grandmasters as easily as cutting melons and vegetables. Even Lian Long, a supreme ultimate grandmaster, couldn't withstand a single move from you. Having lived so many years, they never knew such a monstrous genius existed. They were both anxious and fearful, but didn't dare approach. You glanced at these dozen or so ultimate grandmasters and directly descended toward the ground below. These dozen people looked at each other, only able to follow from a distance. You landed on the square before the collapsed Fontian Hall and casually threw Lian Long to the ground. You had sealed the source power within Lian Long, crushed his internal organs, and twisted his knees and elbows backward to ensure he couldn't escape. The dozen or so ultimate grandmasters also landed on the ground, watching you from afar, unsure what this ruthless person intended to do. As the fighting subsided, the capital garrison troops finally arrived belatedly, pretentiously surrounding you. Only then did the imperial concubines, noble ladies, palace maids, and eunuchs dare to peek out cautiously to see what was happening. But everyone who looked saw Lian Long's miserable state, and they all gasped in shock. They could hardly believe it was their exalted emperor lying there. Some fell to their knees in terror, muttering that the sky was falling. Some wept helplessly, not knowing what to do. The square suddenly became lively. Lian Long, his dignity gone, asked weakly, who exactly are you? Could you be from Genu Nation? You smiled slightly. You shouldn't have cut me in half. I cut you in half. The confusion in Lian Long's eyes was genuine. You smiled again. You also shouldn't have eaten people. I ate people too? Lian Long almost lost his composure. But after thinking for a moment, Lian Long understood. This was a case of give a dog a bad name and hang him. Lian Long had often used this tactic himself, never expecting it would be applied to him. Lying on the ground, Lian Long forcefully swallowed a mouthful of blood and asked, "Are you going to kill me?" Your smile was bright. I don't know.